Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Good, baby. Bring it up. Bring it up. Bring it up. Let me tell you something. I f***ing love this team now. I got f***ing goosebumps, gentlemen. I love this team. You can feel it, man. You can feel it. You're right on pace, man. And I'm telling you, talk about acclimation. You guys are acclimating now. When the Giants get here, you're going to be feeling f***ing good. You're going to be ready to go, man. Piss and vinegar. I f***ing love this team. I love this f***ing team. Let's go, Hutch.
Hey, great day today, man. Let's get ready for next week. Let's dominate, man. Let's start this pregame season off with domination. All right, let's go. Hey, dominate on three. 1, 2, 3. Dominate.
Man, Dan Campbell knows how to get me fired up this morning, don't he? Oh, yeah. Welcome. It's the Morning Woodward Show on this Monday morning. Man, it's August 21st. Over the weekend, you guys know what happened. Preseason, week 2. We're going to recap it all and much more. Joining me, my partner in crime, Sam Flannel, in the booth as well. We got JB, and as always, Gabrielle D. Phillips, Lucas Klotz, along with us as well. The entire crew's here. No issues. We don't plan any issues.
We're at the studio today,
Yeah,
man.
we're at the studio. We're going to have a show. We're going to have a show, I promise you. But we got plenty to get into. A lot of lines to get into. Obviously, this whole entire prep's based around this game, essentially, so I can't wait to get into it. But I want to start off by saying, how's everyone's weekend?
You know, my weekend was good, and you know what else is good? I have never been so happy to see this studio in my life. Do I need to cue up the schoolboy cue? I'm just sitting in the studio, just trying to do the Morning Woodward Show, babe. Yeah, there we go.
God,
you know what? I don't even care, though, because...
You killed that. You actually kind of did.
Hey,
I can't.
You know what? I'm a man of many talents, but you know what? It feels good, too, to even just get to break down a football game, even though we did it the week before with the Giants game. But this Jaguars game, obviously the result on the field isn't what we wanted, but there are some things that we can take away from it, both positively and I think maybe a little bit, there's some concern about some things, but no worries, we will get into that. But my weekend was pretty low-key, pretty... Just kind of waiting for this day. Like on Friday, I had so many takes I was ready to get out, and I just felt stifled, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I think we all kind of felt that way. Yeah,
it happens.
Yeah.
Joey 2 times says, everybody pretend there's no audio just to mess with them. Joey, you sick, man. Don't
I
do
swear
that.
to God, if you do that.
Don't do that. Please. And I want to answer this other comment here, and then we'll get to everybody else. Trippy Gypsy says, it was nice to meet you at Cheeseburger, Jeff. He has up at Caseville this weekend at Cheeseburger Festival. He says, I had just taken a massive dab before I saw you, so sorry if the conversation was awkward. No, I respect that. I'm not mad at you, man. It was nice meeting you. Mike, the name was. It was my pleasure. So, yeah, I was at Cheeseburger Festival over the weekend. It was fun. Had a blast up there. Filmed the Bleacher Report Lions postgame show with my guy Lucas, and he held it down with me. And then, again, shout out to Case Phil. And now we're here, ready to have a great show. Cannot wait. But, JB, we'll get to you. How was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty cool. Pretty smooth. Just had to work a little bit. However, I did happen to see the new Lions billboards that's been going up around town when I was driving around making deliveries. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I peeped it out. I went to Ohio this weekend, and I remember seeing it, but then I see, not unfortunately fully, but the first one I saw was a Taylor Decker one. And I think it said, like, grit or something like that. It's just, like, you got Kirby, got Amon-Ra, you got Panay, got CJ, DJ. Taylor's been here for a while, man. And it's just nothing against the guy. It's just I would have rather seen somebody besides Taylor, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I got to see Kirby, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not a shot at Taylor. I mean, solid dude. But, yeah, Kirby obviously would be a little different there. But, Gabrielle, how's your weekend?
It was great. We finally got some good weather here, which I feel like we've all been waiting for. I got a great sunburn, so that hurts a little bit, hence the long dress and long sleeves today to protect myself, but here we are, a new week. I'm excited to get things going here.
Yeah, I know, me too. Again, just can't wait to get in this game. We're going to do winners and losers right after in about 10 minutes or so. We'll get right into that. And then, of course, later in the show, we're going to talk about Jack Campbell, because if you watch the game, you know exactly why we're going to talk about Jack Campbell. Sam Laporta, a little bit of Sam Laporta, and that's referencing a question that was posed by Woodward Sports. Shout out to the social media team because we're going to steal that and use it. It's a question about Sam Laporta and where will he end up at the end of the season amongst tight ends. So we'll get to that in the second hour. We're going to discuss the conversation around should the Lions play their starters. Didn't play them this week. At least majority of the offensive starters. You saw Teddy Bridgewater, but we're going to have that conversation as well. And then at 9:30, I want to bring up the Jameson Williams stuff because he can't even get treatment. What the hell is this?
Not with the team, at least.
Where's he supposed to go? Urgent care? What the hell?
Hire a doctor, not hire a doctor, but go find the nearest and best doctor that you're going to trust your whole career with, that you're already under scrutiny with. Don't trust the people that drafted you and have arguably the best medical hands in the league. So, yeah, don't do that. Go find your own. Not allowed to do it in the team facility or have a team doctor while you're suspended.
I can't wait to get to that at 9:30. That's absolutely ridiculous. But over the weekend, some Lions news. End of the Mo Ibrahim era. I know, Lucas, you're sad to hear that.
I am.
I am. That was one of your more underrated players, and there you go, JV. Thanks for the music. The Detroit Lions have waived injured running back Mohamed Ibrahim and have signed safety Scott Nelson, who's actually a local here in Detroit as well, from here. Went to high school here. But still, Mohamed Ibrahim, a guy who was injured in college, injured in the NFL, and now he is cut. Lucas, your thoughts?
Benny Snell time.
Oh, okay. You're jumping on to Benny Snell now.
I was really excited to see if Mohamed Ibrahim would make the team. Obviously did not. I don't think it's anything that we can complain about too much. We have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Even Craig Reynolds is a nice third down back if he needs to come in and do so. But you have Benny Snell, who honestly, he's obviously not some supreme back. But as far as just a guy that can consistently give you 3-4 yards every time, that's what Benny Snell is. I think that's what they were expecting out of Mo Ibrahim. But he's not on the team. It is what it is. Next man up.
Next man up, Sam Flannel, Mohamed Ibrahim, the fan favorite. People are excited for him to get that third running back spot.
Well,
looking like a no-go.
I mean, I certainly was hoping that he could grab the reins and get that third running back spot because when he wasn't hurt at Minnesota, which he did have an Achilles, which is obviously a concern, he was highly productive. He was one of the most productive running backs in the country, certainly the Big Ten. And I thought he was a candidate to be a guy who made the roster and made some plays this year, and maybe even on a team that didn't have running back depth. I thought Mohamed Ibrahim was a guy who could maybe even get some spot starts if he was on any other team, but he got hurt in training camp, and when you get hurt in training camp, especially when you're undrafted, that's kind of the kiss of death. And that was probably the kiss of death in college, what prevented him from getting drafted. So I could see him resurfacing on another team at some point, but it looks like his time in Detroit is over. The Mo Ibrahim era is over. What was your favorite memory, Jeff?
Let me think about that for a second. Because when we talk about Mo Ibrahim, and I know Lucas was hyping him up, and I get why people were excited if you watched him, but dude, the guy has like 400,000 miles on his tires. Like he's had a ton of injuries. He comes in the NFL. The Lions then have Izigbo. They have Benny Snell. Like the Justin Jackson was signed but then retired. The Lions were kind of telling you something without telling you. Like, yeah, we're not really sold on Mo either. And then he was injured, of course. But Gabrielle, you were down there. You didn't really get to see a ton of Mo though. He looked like he was always hurt at times.
Yeah, there wasn't too much this is the other thing. There wasn't too much, and there wasn't too much that was consistent. So unfortunately, I know Lucas was really looking forward to seeing his potential, but we must move on.
Yeah, nothing can ever be my way. Yeah, it's always got to be Dan and Brad's way.
Lucas is still gonna be over there like, man, if he gets picked up, he's gonna eat for some team.
I'm rooting for him still, though. He's got potential. I'm rooting for him. I hope he goes like the Chiefs or somewhere where they're like a winner that's kind of weak in the running back room. Maybe he can carve out a little role, but I still think he has a lot of talent, just like you guys said. A lot of mileage on him.
Another news, Bagley, the money badger, free agent again. All right.
Surprise there.
He goes to the Lions cut him. He goes to Washington and then loses a kicker battle. About a month later, he's cut from the month later from getting cut from the Lions. But Sam Flannel, Michael Badgley. And that was your guy.
No,
right? Yes,
that was not my guy.
It was
All
your
I
guy.
said about Michael Badgley is you were pounding the table for Brandon McManus when he got released, and I'm like,
he's better than Badgley.
He could be, but I was to the point where it's like if we are pounding the table for Brandon McManus, I'm really not tripping about it compared to Michael Badgley. Like there's really not that big of a difference. Am I happy we have Riley Patterson and Parker Romo? Sure. And am I happy that Badgley got cut? No. But again, it's not like I have some vendetta. He was never my boy. If anything, you just love Brandon McManus.
No, well, I loved Brandon McManus back in the day, for the record, but obviously he's not what he once was. But this is not a Brandon McManus discussion. This is a Michael Badgley discussion. I was kind of in the same boat as you, Lucas, where it wasn't a Brandon McManus thing. There were people at this network and I think around town, specifically Neil Rule, who were pounding the table to draft Jake Moody, and I was one of those people that's like, even though I'm a Michigan fan, I thought it was just a backhanded compliment at Michigan to say, oh, we want to draft their kicker, because I thought Michael Badgley was perfectly fine. He's a guy who actually has some Detroit sports moments, like he tied the game against Buffalo, and then, of course, the defense let Josh Allen drive right down the field, but he tied that game.
He also missed that 50-yarder in Minnesota.
He definitely
which,
did, yes.
Came back to, as you know, bite them.
He wasn't bad last year, though.
Yes, no, he wasn't. Again, he loses that battle as well, but I don't want to address this comment because people are already chiming in here. Steve says Lucas has a Badgley poster above his bed. That may be true. I don't know.
Sam Laporta
Okay.
poster.
All right. Terry says Friday's show was so bad. Yeah, Terry, I mean, I agree with that. Jay Cruzen says, when is Lucas going to talk about Mims? Well, we were going to talk about Mims Friday, and now it's kind of old news, but Mims cut, waived, cleared waivers, and reverted back in the Lions. Probably will have an injury settlement. He'll probably be released and be a free agent. But Denzel Mims. What a story. What a storyline. What his whole tenure in Detroit.
Yeah, I was wrong.
Hang his jersey in the rafters.
I was banking on him making the team and Ben Johnson turning him into a new weapon, but obviously I was wrong. I thought I could see into the future there, but not this time. But at the end of the day, the Lions know what they need to do to be best for the team. Obviously, Denzel Mims, he's a great talent on paper, but he wasn't putting it together through camp. Dan Campbell even talked about it when they was asked about him during the press conference. They're like, so what do you think about Mims? And he's like, well, he's in the room.
He's in the room.
That's all he really had to say. So after that press conference, you kind of knew that Mims was on a ticking time clock. So I think definitely done with the Lions. Hopefully he can get on another roster. But after this, like, you're getting cut before the season even starts, and we didn't even really see anything for you. So you wonder what teams are really going to take that gamble on him.
Yeah, I mean, saying he's in the room is like, someone asks, how's Lucas doing? I'm like, well, he's in the TD booth. Like, that's like a backhanded compliment. How's he doing? Well, he's in there. I mean, he's present in the TD booth. That's all I got for you.
I'm always holding it down.
No, you're doing a great job. But
I'm Amon-Ra St. Brown in here, not Denzel Mims.
Yeah, the whole Denzel Mims thing. Like, I said this last week. If Denzel can't succeed with the Lions, it's not the Lions' fault. I mean, this offense is designed for guys to produce. Like, no matter what your skill set is, they'll find a way. They'll find a role for you. And Denzel has all the talent physically, just couldn't put it together. So it is what it is. The Lions get their 6th-round pick back. It was conditional, so that was contingent on him working out. And he obviously did not.
No, he did not. He kind of showed who he was, a guy who couldn't even crack 200 yards the last couple of seasons with the New York Jets. And I know I don't want to keep harping on it, but at some point, if you can't make this team, especially a team in which I would say Denzel Mims, if he reached his potential, would be a need, especially the first 6 weeks. If he can't make this team, obviously being hurt was a part of it. I don't know if he's ever really going to catch on in the NFL again. It wouldn't shock me at all if he has caught his last NFL pass. I know it's a little harsh, but I mean, Denzel Mims has been a complete flop as an NFL player. That's fair.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely fair. In other news, too, before we go to break here, Sugar Sean, now UFC champ. The UFC, I'm telling you right now, they're looking up at the gods and just saying thank you. We have this guy as the UFC champ. And JB, I was texting you on Saturday, and I have the text, and I'm not just saying this. I called Sean O'Malley knockout round 2. I have the text at noon yesterday. Now, did I think it was real? No. I just thought Sean would win, I guess, round 2. He actually knocked him out in round 2. So, hey, happy for Sean. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, he's probably going to move up. JB, Sean, baby. It's his time. I was worried about this happening, too. I was like, what if this Joker
Sure enough, he did. I'm still mad at the ref that he stopped it a little too early right there, but still, man, I thought he had a chance to.
And you watched most of that card, right? I mean, I was unable to in Caseville.
Yeah, so I got there probably like the last prelim fight, and then that's when the main card started to hop on. So it was a pretty good fight. Like I gotta say, what's her name? Zhang Wei Li.
Yes,
I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Yep.
She is a monster. I'm not gonna lie. She is a monster.
She would whoop all of our asses like at once. Like she's different. But again, I didn't get to catch all the fights, but I got Sugar Sean, got to watch him. That's all that matters. But speaking of Sugar Sean, a place that he would absolutely love is Dispo Dispensary, and I'll tell you why. You can experience the true meaning of exceptional cannabis products with Dispo Dispensary. Indulge in the finest selection of cannabis, curated with care, with over 12 locations. They just opened up one in Whitmore Lake. Dispo is never too far away. All Dispo locations will be having an end of summer bash on Friday, September 1st, all day long. There'll be vendors, food trucks, music, killer deals, and epic giveaways. Only at Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White and Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com. And thanks so much for tuning in on this Monday morning. We're happy to have you here with us. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, and then tune back in at 11 a.m. for Big D Energy, 2 p.m. for Ermanni and Edwards with Maz, and 5 p.m. for your Woodward Heavyweights.
It's time. We're going to get into winners and losers of this preseason game on Saturday against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, it was an ass whooping. It was, quite frankly. But again, we'll get into all of that and much more. But we're going to start with the winners, and then in about 10 minutes when we go to the next segment, we'll get to losers. But Sam Flannel, I'll start with you. JB, you give us a beat here, and we'll get it rolling.
Oh, yes.
Tell me, Sam Flannel, who do you got as some winners?
Okay, I have one winner in particular that I want to highlight, and I'm going to go with James Houston for that one. And here's the reason why. James Houston, as I've often said, when you look at the numbers, him and Aiden Hutchinson, they were 1-2 in the NFL amongst rookies in sacks. You'd think this is your bookend edge rushers for the next 5 to 10 years. But what James Houston did last year was kind of something we've never really seen before. And I actually looked this up and put it into numbers. Last season, he played a grand total of 123 snaps. 123, 31 of them against the run for a grand total of 17.6 snaps per game and 4.4 run snaps per game. That's nothing basically. So the reason why I highlighted James Houston is because in this preseason game, I thought they gave him more usage, and what I wanted to see him do was make dominating plays against second stringers and even some first stringers, and that's exactly what James Houston did. 4 tackles for loss, a sack, a quarterback hit. And when you look at James Houston versus Aiden Hutchinson last year, I just gave you that James Houston didn't get a whole lot of usage. His sacks per snaps is actually probably the best of all time. I don't have that number in front of me, but it's absolutely insane. Aiden Hutchinson played 54.5 snaps per game last year. James Houston 17.6. Aiden Hutchinson 21.2 run snaps per game last year. James Houston 4.4. So I wanted to see what James Houston would do when he was given a little bit more usage, some run defense snaps, and that is exactly what they got, because in that game against Jacksonville, James Houston played 20 run defense snaps and only 16 versus the pass. 20 run defense snaps yesterday, 31 all last season. So I hope that he becomes that bookend edge rusher who actually gets the second most production after Aiden Hutchinson. I hope that he can prove that he can become that guy who's worthy of being like an every down edge rusher. And I think yesterday was a pretty damn big step in doing that. And that is why, even though James Houston was kind of proven last year by having 8 sacks, he still needed to show what he did yesterday. And I'm very, very happy from what I saw. I hope that he could just be that guy who gets more snaps, a lot more usage than he got last year. Saturday was a big step in that direction.
Yeah, James Houston, one step forward, becoming a more complete defensive end. Now I'll give one more winner, and then we'll go around. So my winner, I'm going to go with the easy one, Jack Campbell, and for obvious reasons. I mean, and this is a stat that came out, and this was out by Tim 20 minutes. It's a known stat, but he put it in his notebook that you can check check out on DetroitLions.com. Jack Campbell played 25 reps in the preseason opener versus the Giants last week and tied the team lead with 4 tackles. And you check this week against the Jaguars, led them in tackles with 7. Like, tackling machine. He's always around the football, Jack Campbell. And I think as the games have went on from the Giants to the Jags, he's gotten better. The game has slowed down. And again, for someone that is you're expecting him to wear the green dot eventually, the reps are important. So that's why I understand why he's playing and Brian Branch wasn't. Jack needs those. He needs to diagnose different coverages, different offensive schemes, and he's doing a great job of that. So Jack Campbell led the team in tackles despite not playing really in the second half. So
and
Jack Campbell's the obvious one.
The other reason that they need him to do that is because they've talked about his speed and his reaction time, and you put him in these game situations versus when they're in practice, and that time span has to be even faster than when he's in practice. So I think that's another reason why you see him getting so many reps like he did over the weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lucas, give me a winner.
Listen, I think the clear winner from Saturday is John Kaminsky. He was the best Detroit Lion on the field, and especially when you compare Romeo Okwara, Julian Okwara, James Houston, pretty much all played more time than him. And none of them were as effective against the run and the pass as John Kaminsky. He was pretty much the only Lions defensive end that could set an edge on Saturday, because all day Saturday, the Jaguars were getting outside without any problem. Romeo Okwara had an issue setting an edge. Julian Okwara basically did nothing. And even James Houston, he was great against the pass, but against the run, he got sucked inside by the guard in the center multiple times, allowing the Jacksonville running backs to get outside. The one guy who did not, and you can look at the stat sheet, be like, yeah, he only had 1 tackle, 1 pass deflect, 1 sack. John Kaminsky is earning his way to be starting on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. I think when it comes down to Week 18, those big games, I fully expect if Kaminsky keeps playing how he is, it'll be Aiden Hutchinson on one side and John Kaminsky on the other. And it's not something that will be a sexy look for the Lions, but he gets the job done. He doesn't have that high of a ceiling. He has a pretty high floor, but he's going to do everything he can to increase that floor. And with the Lions, I think as far as the role that he can carve out, it's the limit, because they're playing Julian Romeo and James Houston and John Kaminsky all to see, okay, you're going up against backups, guys competing to be starters. I want to see who separates himself. And if there was a guy who separated himself more than anybody on that defensive end unit, it was John Kaminsky. So easy one for me is John Kaminsky.
Yeah, I like John Kaminsky, man. You talk about a guy preseason, at least for me, you look at guys that'll separate themselves from the pack. John Kaminsky looked like he was varsity against JV out there. I mean, he looked like a premier edge rusher that preseason game.
I believe it was his last drive. He contained the running back and forced him inside. Then he made a tackle, and then he just did a straight bull rush and forced a pass deflection. And they were like, all right, John, we've seen enough from you. We're going to let James, Romeo, and Julian try to prove themselves. But they really didn't.
It's really just his impact, like, without numbers. Like,
exactly.
The impact, like, you watch the game, you see when John was in, the edges were contained, he was generating pressure, he's good against the run. Like, John is a do-it-all type of guy, so love that pick as well. Gabrielle, you got one winner from Saturday's game you want to bring up?
I mean, you guys covered him. I would say my biggest was Jack Campbell for the reasons of what Dan Campbell has shared and what they're looking for him to do, and they're looking for him to show up consistently. And you know that Ford Field was incredibly loud, and he's in a new era of his career, taking on a lot of responsibility for a rookie. And I think he shows up even when he's thrown a lot at one time, and he's in this kind of pressure cooker right now and needing to prove himself, not only to himself but to everyone around him, to the media. And I think he did just that during this game.
Yeah, his demeanor, his poise is like a 8-year vet of Jack Campbell, man. Just walks in like, hey, I got a job to do, and I'm going to execute it. JB, anybody you want to bring up? Any winners? Because I got one, and I don't know, and no one's brought him up yet.
I think I might bring him up. Respectfully to all you guys' picks out there, but I'm going with a guy who is still trying to fight and get onto this roster. Wide receiver, Chase Cota.
Oh,
yes.
Chase Cota.
Great point.
Cota.
He caught the only touchdown of the game. Yes, I got to give respect to him on that. He didn't have a whole bunch of yards, didn't show up a lot on the box sheet, but still, he was returning punts, and he is trying his best out there to make this roster. He got speed, hands. That's what you get out of Oregon. So,
woo!
Right there, Chase Cota. Come on.
JB cooking.
JB's cooking.
Now, I'm surprised because I was going to say Nate Sudford. No, I'm just kidding. No, I want to bring up Stephen Gilmore.
Thank you.
Undrafted, free agent,
that was next for
out
me.
of Marshall. Yes, and Chase Cota is another great one. But Stephen Gilmore, We go back to Brad's, first year in Detroit and what he's done with undrafted free agents, right? Bringing in a Jerry Jacobs, still on the roster. A.J. Parker, who contributed the first year, no longer on the roster, but still, he gets production out of undrafted free agents. He keeps finding guys. And now with Dylan Drummond for offense, but defensively, especially with those DBs, Stephen Gilmore, Starling Thomas the fifth, it's going to be hard between those two. I mean, Stephen Gilmore showed up on Saturday, and Lucas did a tremendous film breakdown. You can go check that out on his Twitter, and you broke down all his plays as well. And Stephen Gilmore, the way he responded after giving up that first bomb, which you alluded to in the video too, Lucas, had his head turned outside, should have been inside. He adjusted, made plays. Tracy Walker kind of handed him a freebie. He took it and ran with it. So Stephen Gilmore deserves respect, man. Happy for him. And his brother, Gilly, tweeted out too. I don't know if you have that graphic as well.
We do.
Pull that up. His brother was giving him love, which you love to see. Stephon Gilmore. Look, I see you, little bro.
Too.
Look at that. Stephen Gilmore, man, he deserves some love today.
And that's the thing that I think people are kind of overlooking about this whole thing is like Aaron Glenn and the Lions run a man-to-man scheme. Stephon Gilmore, his older brother, has been one of the best man-to-man corners in the NFL for the last decade. So do you really think that he doesn't have like an extra coach in his ear? Like he can go, hey, big bro, what I do wrong? You're like, all right, when you're playing this receiver, this is how you got to work him. And I think he has all the physical tools. He's not the most athletic cornerback, but as far as being patient off the line and just knowing what he has, that's what I think Stephen Gilmore does best. So I think he's going to make the roster, and I think just over time, this can turn into a really nice player. I think the Jerry Jacobs, but I think he has a higher ceiling, and I think Stephen Gilmore could be a really nice find for the Detroit Lions.
I actually don't hate that statement, to be honest with you. And LFG says Starling Thomas made plays 2 games in a row.
Yep.
I think he's another a guy, a notable mention, right? Starling Thomas, I'd say. And another guy I want to give love to because it's been a while since we've seen him is Tracy Walker. Like, he walked right back out there and just, again, separated himself from everybody else. So, shout out to Tracy. Again, you're excited for that secondary, but again, a guy who's been here since the jump. It was nice to see him, Sam Flannel, out there just tearing it up. Almost had a pick. He had it in his hands, but
I know, but hey, he just passed it off to Stephen Gilmore. And it's funny that you even mentioned the bomb that he gave up. He was in about as good of coverage as you could possibly be, and C.J. Beathard just threw the perfect
throw C.J. Beathard's ever thrown in his life. He'll never do it again.
And the best pass, the best throw he ever will make again. And I know, Lucas, I watched your film breakdown. Stephen Gilmore, he had his head turned the wrong way, but it shouldn't even come to that. It sucks so bad, but that he basically gave up a long completion, but he had perfect coverage. But like you said, he had a pass deflection at the goal line. He had an interception. He was able to respond from that. So I guess when you look at Stephen Gilmore and Starling Thomas, do they both make the roster, or are they casualties of being in a deep secondary? That's the thing.
I think it's one of the two.
Yeah.
I think what's going to separate them, and Lucas, correct me if I'm wrong here, special teams. Which I think Starling Thomas has shown he's doing at this point. I love Steven, but Dan's mentioned it. If you can play special teams, man, we got a spot on this roster for you.
Yeah, but if Steven goes out there and he plays even half of what he did against Carolina this weekend, I don't think there's a way you can cut him. I think they're one of those things where it's like, all right, Starling, you might go down to the practice squad, keep you on the team, and then when there's an injury, we'll bump you up and we'll keep him around for return purposes. But as far as returners go, Maurice Alexander did not play on Saturday, and I think there's a reason for that. I think they go, okay, this is our kick returner for the year. We're not going to risk him getting hurt. He just had an incredible kick return, so I understand the special teams part. But then again, you can have a guy like Stephen Gilmore on the outside against the Gunners, he can definitely find his way into a special teams unit for sure. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I have one quick comment too about all of this, and this is where I have to be a little bit of the wet blanket. We're not talking about losers yet. I just have to say, did I miss this great game that Chase Cota had? I get it. He had that big punt return. He had that touchdown, but he also failed to get double digits in receiving yards. He was fine. He had a very fine game, but I kept hearing about, oh my God, Chase Cota. And in JB, that was like your big takeaway, your big win. And I'm kind of like, he was fine. He was all right.
Yeah, but I think that's a totality of week 1 to week 2 and what Chase, again, he's scored the only touchdown this week. The offense was awful. So I can't really say, well, Chase didn't show up. The offense was just bad. I mean, the offensive line, which we'll get to very shortly, was awful. But again, the first week against the Giants, 4 for 60.
Of course.
But I get it. I mean, Chase Cota, there's always going to be a preseason folk hero. It happens all the time. But I like Chase Cota.
And one thing that I liked that I saw from Chase Cota is that catch that really didn't count, where Teddy Bridgewater threw it on like a 7 to 8 yard out route. And Chase Cota, it was the one where they challenged it and it was ruled incomplete, but he makes a great adjustment with his hands.
His foot. Yeah.
Body control was perfect. He got 2 feet down. So that play, it showed me, okay, all right, Chase, he's a little bit more experienced than what I think we all thought and gave him credit for. So I think what it came down to is when his number was called and there was a play to be made, especially against the Jaguars the week before, or I'm sorry, the Giants the week before. Chase is a pretty reliable guy, so I think that's what the Lions are liking about him right now.
Yeah, no doubt. But guess what? I'm liking Big Boy, JB. So can you tell me more about them?
Oh, definitely. You know I can, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like the strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with their refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave without grabbing some dessert, because they've got the berry delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep fried vanilla Oreos, and of course the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Houghton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
Network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
How would you like to take a 100K Vegas getaway trip? Huh? Take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and you're entered to win the 100K Vegas getaway. Again, drinkcintron.com/Vegas. Buy Cintron at your local Meijer store. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel great, and be the best versions of themselves. Drinkcintron.com/Vegas. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button. We'll try to get to 100 likes by the end of this segment. Appreciate you for tuning in. If you're not subscribed, which if you're not, that's another conversation, but hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And don't forget, if you can't watch the show live, you can catch it on any podcast platform you listen to, Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review. It's that time now. We'll get into the losers. We just covered the winners. Because there's definitely some losers in this game.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll start with you, Sam Flannel. What do you got for me? Who's the #1 loser to you?
All right, so there is a #1 loser, but I think I'm going to leave that for you guys because it's obvious. I'm going to go to one that I don't know if enough people are going to bring up. I think one of the biggest losers so far of this preseason as a whole, and particularly as of yesterday's game, is none other than our third-round draft pick, Broderick Martin. I'm not saying that Broderick Martin has been terrible or anything. I'm just saying that he doesn't really flash off the screen to me. He hasn't really been that impactful. He wasn't very impactful in the run game, which was a problem yesterday. I'm not saying it was all his fault, but Tank Bigsby and Dearness Johnson just basically got anything that they wanted against that defensive line on the ground. And when you look at the defensive line and the edge rushers and even the interior as a whole, you look at Romeo Okwara, he's made plays this preseason, Julian Okwara, Josh Paschal, John Kaminsky, even Benito Jones has had a sack and a half. And I'd say Broderick Martin has done relatively nothing this preseason. And maybe, and I know this is kind of overreaction Monday, but is there a chance that Broderick Martin is just a guy? We've been hearing about him being this guy who's just been wreaking havoc all preseason, all like training camp, and then you see him in the preseason games, and you're kind of like,
But that was the whole point with Broderick, is he's a project. Like
right.
That's known. So I'm not going to sit there and overact through 2 preseason games. Like we knew he's a project. They talked about it. I don't think he'll play a ton this year. So no. If he was drafted in the 2nd round,
sure,
I'd be with you. But they took him in the 3rd round because they felt like, hey, upside-wise, he's got a ton of upside, but he's not a finished product.
There's going to be 2 big hurdles that they talked about at the beginning of this preseason for a lot of these rookies. It's going to be when they put those pads on and when they step out into the field for the first time. So I'm not surprised that you're seeing him take those steps back and you're not seeing as much of that fire under him when he's on the field versus when he's on the practice field.
Okay, and I'm reading a lot of comments, and they're definitely not happy with me picking Broderick Martin. I see, he's just a rookie, back off at everything, and even Chuck Brewer said, how did James Houston look last year in the preseason? Here's the thing. I have to pick someone. I have to pick somebody who I would say has disappointed me slightly this preseason. I'm not saying that he's necessarily going to be bad or anything, or that he's not going to be impactful. It's just, I think we need to temper our expectations for Broderick Martin. Like Jeff said, if we're not expecting much from him as a rookie except to be a rotational piece in the middle, then that's all well and good. It's just, you've seen guys, even like I said, Benito Jones has been far better this preseason. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster over Broderick Martin. I'm just saying for preseason performance only, Broderick Martin, I'd say, has been disappointing, and I think that's fair. And if you don't think that's fair, then I think you just hate everything I say, or you haven't been watching, or you're just looking at everything through rose-colored glasses. Come on, he's been okay. Nothing special.
Okay. Interesting loser.
Yes.
I would say there's much worse losers. And for example, why not a Trinity Benson? Like, that experiment's over.
Dude couldn't catch a cold.
No, he's out. It's over. Trinity Benson, I've seen enough. Good riddance. Goodbye. This is a guy who was acquired by Brad. Another, it sent like, I think it was a conditional pick as well. It was like a pick swap with the Denver Broncos. He was great in the preseason for the Broncos. The Lions got him. He hasn't done a damn thing. So I've seen enough for Trinity Benson. Teddy Bridgewater dropped the ball in a bucket for Trinity Benson, and he still couldn't catch it.
He had multiple opportunities.
Trinity Benson.
Teddy had no time back there.
No, he did not.
Like,
and we'll get to that in a little bit too. But I would go Trinity Benson, another loser. That experiment's over.
I think the clear loser to me, because it's a man who's fighting for a roster spot. The Lions still don't know what they have in him, is Julian Okwara. He had 3 sacks last week, and he had a great game. But he followed it up this week by doing absolutely nothing. And if anything, he was a liability out there, especially against the run. And I remember towards the end of the game, there was a play where he was trying to guess the snap count. He went early, he didn't quite go offsides, but then he just didn't even give an effort for a pass rush. And it was one of those things where it's like, man, you could be so talented, but the Lions, the whole thing, what they need to see out of you is consistency. And he played a long duration during that game. It's not like he was out there for a drive or two. They took Kaminsky out, and they put in Julian Okwara. And you could see when Kaminsky went out, the Jaguars had free reign to run off the edge. And it was mostly because both him and Romeo struggled to set an edge throughout the game, and they really didn't put any pass rusher on there. He did have, I think, a half a sack when they got called back because there was a holding on the defense or illegal contact or something like that. But Julian, I don't know if he's going to get cut, but I think he definitely needs to prove some more in order to make sure that he makes the team. I think he still has a lot of potential, but he was disappointing on Saturday for sure.
What about you, Gabrielle? You got anybody that you want to point out, maybe, that disappointed you or didn't perform up to your expectations on Saturday?
Sudfeld. I really wish I saw more from him. I mean, it's one that we're like, he is who he is. He's a backup. He's not the star. But I really wanted to see him stand out and see that he was more comfortable in this offense than Bridgewater was, like by a lot, considering that Bridgewater has been with the team and practicing with the team for a week, and I just didn't see that clear difference between the two of them. Obviously, Bridgewater has a lot of progress to make, but for only being with the team 1 week, you would expect Sudfeld, who's been with the team for a full year now, to be much more progressed than Bridgewater within the offense.
In the doc chiming in, he says he stood out for throwing to the other team. Hoof Hardin
That's
says,
just Nate Sudfeld for you ask Nate Sudfeld what he's gonna do, he'll be like, I make sure I'll get the other team the ball during this. I don't understand how the man still made a roster. Again, I understand the line isn't that helpful, but Brad Cecil literally let a defensive lineman for the Jaguars take the handoff from Teddy Bridgewater, and he still looked better out there. I don't understand, to Gabby's point, how do you know how this offense runs? You know who you're working with, and you still go out there and are the clear 3rd best quarterback for the Detroit Lions out there. It makes no sense. It's just a matter of time. I think the quarterback who won the most from Saturday was Hendon Hooker. Because it's like, oh, we cannot wait to watch Hendon Hooker play football now. Because we had high hopes for Teddy Bridgewater. Not saying he's going to be a bust in Detroit or anything like that, but it's his first week. But it's just like, man, I just want to see a viable guy. If Jared Goff goes down, I know that we'll be okay. And we didn't see it out of Teddy, but again, it's not his fault. We'll have to see more from this week in the preseason game.
Spencer, my guy, Trapeze, he says, if Sudfeld hits the field in a regular season game or whatever reason, I will never watch another Lions game. Yeah, I'm with you, Spencer. I will not. I don't want to partake in a Nate Sudfeld experiment. I'm done. That's why I wanted Teddy Bridgewater. Like, that was the big reason. And we got him. And again, for people that want to take that one preseason game and live with it, great. He had a week to prepare with new receivers. The offensive line, there was multiple guys who just got signed. Like, it was a disaster, to say the least. But I'm excited. And Spencer's right. If I have to watch Sudfeld, man, I'm out. And Who Hearted says Sudfeld better be the best clipboard holder ever or he's gone. That's fair. JB, any other losers you want to mention? Because I still got some notable mentions. But
oh, yeah. I mean, I just have to bring up the name again. Gabby said it as well. It's Nate Sudfeld. If the Trinity Benson experiment is done, please let the Nate Sudfeld experience be done. Just go hand in hand. Get rid of them both this week. Like, if anything, come on. The man throws interceptions out there. He's slinging the ball. He's trying, but he's trying to give the game to the other team. I was hoping for a bounce back game from him at least this week, but that did not happen. So please, X out Nate Sudfeld from this team.
You heard JB. Do it. Do it,
The
Brad.
voice of reason has spoken.
The voice of reason has spoken. Some other mentions I want to bring up too. Some other losers. That offensive line, at least the depth. And I want to just preface it by saying this: all NFL teams struggle with offensive line depth. Like, that's a problem. It's not like every team or a majority of teams, when their first team all offensive line goes down, they can just sub in guys that are elite. It just doesn't happen. The fact that you have any depth on your offensive line is a benefit. They don't. I like some of Iafrate. I like some pieces. Glasgow I like, but still, other than that,
keep Cecil. I never want to see Brad Cecil on the field.
Yeah.
Not only did he let his man just fly through the A gap, did you see him try to chase him down after the play?
Yeah, that was bad.
You could watch the Jaguars defensive lineman create separation from Cecil. There is no way that this man should be an NFL starting center, backup, third string. I don't care. All I know is if there's one guy who deserves to be cut more than anybody on this team, it's him. That was just pathetic. That was just, you're clearly belong in the CFL or the XFL. You're not an NFL type of body, in my opinion.
It's so interesting because I actually was going to mention this first, but I wanted to give everybody else a chance to bring it up. Like, the offensive line depth, absolutely. It was a big-time loser from this preseason game, but there's the running game depth as a whole. I know we like David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think they're a very, very good running back duo. Could be top 5 to 10. We shall see. And their offensive line is obviously one of the best in all of the NFL. And I think we would all agree with that, and that is universal. But a couple injuries, and it gets a little bit dicey. And of course, we all know what Frank Ragnow has going on with his toe. I know we like Graham Glasgow. I know we think that he is a capable backup. But even Vaitai, did he play at all last year?
No.
I would say injuries are a concern with him as well. So the lack of depth, and I know, Jeff, like you mentioned, it's a big problem with a lot of teams, but it was very, very glaring and on display in this preseason game. It was so weird because I'm used to watching really, really good O-line play in Detroit. But yesterday, whatever the hell that was, you mentioned it, Lucas, Brett Cecil, whatever that,
Nelson,
whoever the
terrible.
hell Matt Nelson and a Brett Cecil is. I mean, you even look at the backup running backs. I know Benny Snell was good, but Craig Reynolds averaged less than 2 yards per carry. Not saying it was all his fault. I'm just saying their running game, and even their offensive line depth, I think, is a concern.
Yes.
If they have some bad injury luck.
Yeah, I mean, even Colby Sorsdahl, the rookie, was out there. I mean, the entire offensive line just didn't play well. With Brad Cecil, man, he 3 pressures, 2 hurries per PFF he was giving up. So Brad Cecil, yeah, he was orchestrated. He was a big part of that.
I hope we can find like a sideline angle of him trying to run down that Jaguars defensive lineman, because it was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. I never want to see the name Cecil on a Lions jersey ever again after that play.
Was Brad Cecil he played in the XFL, correct?
I have no clue. Wherever he came from, he needs to go back. He should probably be like a security guard or something like that. He should just be like a guy that just stands there, looks good, but when he actually has to do something, really doesn't need to. And that's what Cecil is. He's 6'4", whatever he is, 6'3", 6'2". It's an NFL-sized body and good for nothing.
Yeah, well, maybe he isn't the guy that I'm talking about. Regardless, though, he stinks. So, you know what? Offensive line depth is a problem. In the Lions, it was kind of on display on Saturday. Another mention before we go to break. That defensive line against the run defense was atrocious, and Broderick Martin was out there for part of that. So that wasn't great, but again, the guys who were going to be a big part of that, Kaminsky didn't really play. You know, like the guys that are going to be impactful in the run game weren't there. So I don't want to take too much from it. What'd you say?
I wish Derek Barnes would have done more. Rodrigo looked clearly better than Derek Barnes. That's something to know too.
Rodrigo.
He didn't play a lot, but he was a winner too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to talk about Jack Campbell because, again, he just continues to impress, and you really can't say enough good things about Jack Campbell. But before we do that, Sam Flannel, could you tell everybody about our friends over at Planet Fitness?
Oh, yes. It's been a couple of days since I've really got to do the full version version of the replay in the studio. Man, I got a pump going. I can see it in that little camera right there because I went on Saturday. And you know those type of workouts where while you're doing it, you're like screaming expletives and everything, but at the end, it's just like, I'm happy, it feels good. That is what I was doing at Planet Fitness, and that is what you can do too, because Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions, featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for power or outdoor power equipment. Sales, service, and parts carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Stihl, and much more, servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipco.com. That's OutdoorEquipco.com, your power equipment playground. Thanks for sticking with us. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, like the video. We're almost at 100 likes. We'll try to get to that before the end of this segment. I want to spend some time now talking about Jack Campbell because we kind of covered him with winners, but I think there's more to talk about with Jack Campbell because one thing I got to say about Jack is even for a rookie, his game is so mature. And you see the game slow down even from one preseason game to the next. He never looks out of position. At least with the Giants, you saw that a couple times, but he adjusted against the Jaguars. And he's a guy that, again, is always around the football. Athletically, though, you could line him up in different spots. I saw him in the slot.
Yeah, they had him split out wide, man-on-man with the running back for the Jaguars. And that's what you want to see because that was the biggest concern.
And, guys, he's 6'5", 240? 250
missile.
And he's guarding running backs. He's covering running backs in the flat. He's guarding guys in the slot. I mean, he's all over the place. So Jack Campbell, I think, we talk about the impact he'll make, him eventually wearing the green dot. I think Jack Campbell is as far as starting, I think he'll be starting right away, but being the best linebacker, I think by the end of the season, you're going to know, Jack Campbell is that guy for the Detroit Lions. It's very obvious to see. Now, there'll be rookie slumps and things that he has to get over, Sam, but he looks like he's ready to go.
No, I personally don't think it'll take till the end of the season. You might notice it on week 1 because the best compliment that I can give to Jack Campbell, I know that it's just preseason, but Jack Campbell in this preseason has looked like Iowa Jack Campbell out there, except he's playing, some first stringers and some second or third stringers in the NFL versus Big Ten. Jack Campbell is a heat-seeking ghost of ball carriers, to paraphrase Dance Gavin Dance. It doesn't matter who's carrying the ball, whether it's off of a catch or off of a run, Jack Campbell will find the football. He has a nose for the football, which is, I know it's a little bit cliche, which is, I don't know if I've seen anything like this in a very, very long time, since maybe DeAndre Levy when it comes to linebackers who just have a nose for the football and are a tackling machine. Jack Campbell, I am more confident now after these couple preseason games that you can basically just pencil in Jack Campbell for the next, at least for the duration of his rookie contract. He is the starting off-ball linebacker for the Detroit Lions, and I think he will be hugely impactful in the resurrection of this defense from a bottom 5 to maybe a very, very good defense this year. And Jack Campbell, I think if he continues on this trajectory and has a great rookie season like I think he will, that will most certainly happen. And I will make 2 personal guarantees right now. I know a lot of you don't like the Flannel Sam guarantees, but I think these are very, very reasonable. That's why I'm guaranteeing them. 1, Jack Campbell will 100% lead all rookies in tackles, and I don't think it'll be even close. 2, he will 100% lead the Detroit Lions team in tackles. And on week 1, you are going to see, even at Kansas City, that's a very, very tough environment, you are going to see that he is the best linebacker on the team already, because we mentioned him being good in coverage and being lined up against running backs. He has actually played more snaps in this preseason in coverage snaps than run defense snaps and pass rush snaps. And I think Jack Campbell has held his own very, very nicely, because it was a bit of a concern coming out of college, but he also was pretty good in coverage in college. I think just there were a lot of, I would say, biases against Jack Campbell, which were not necessarily his fault. The fact that he was drafted number 18, the fact that he's an Iowa linebacker, the fact that he's kind of got that scrappy gym rat, all of the white defensive player stereotypes, but he's
First
actually
one in, last one out.
That's the thing,
Type
though.
of guy you want to marry your daughter.
But when you look at his play on the field at Iowa in the preseason, you see how good he is, and you even see how athletic he is. He's gonna surprise a lot of people with his athleticism and his skill, kind of like a certain Lion did last year named Aiden Hutchinson. So far, to me, Jack Campbell has 100% been the MVP of the Detroit Lions preseason and the one who has stood out the most.
Yeah, Blade says having 4 starting caliber linebackers is fire. Anthony says, I'm old enough to have watched Spielman in literally every tackle pile in the 90s. Which I feel like, and I don't want to say Jack Campbell will be Chris Spielman, but he does kind of seem like that type of player. Every time there's a pile up, Jack's jumping in there. He's always in there around the football.
I think Jack Campbell is one of those players where we talk about like a Devontae Adams was born to play the wide receiver position. Patrick Mahomes will play the quarterback position. I'm not saying he's going to be to that extent at the linebacker position, but Jack Campbell was put on this earth to play linebacker in the National Football League. He has all the skills to do so, has all the instincts to do so, and now he has a great coach and a good situation to perform in. I think kind of like how Aiden Hutchinson is going to hold down our defensive line for years, now we got the guy that's going to hold down the linebacker corps for years, and both of them are extremely talented, hardworking, and intelligent guys. And I think we kind of got the same type of thing behind him in Brian Branch, and I'm not willing to go that far because we still got to see both of them from Brian Branch and Jack Campbell, but we have 2 potential Pro Bowlers in their future behind Aiden Hutchinson. I think that's the beauty in it all. I think when it comes down to it, Jack Campbell is going to be the best linebacker in this class. I know a lot of us, especially, like, I'll admit it, I didn't hate the Jack Campbell pick, but for where it was at, I was like, what are we doing?
Sure.
And now I think is the moment where we get the clarity for the Lions fans that were like me, who were kind of questioning the pick, that are like, okay, this is what Brad was thinking. I trusted in Brad, but again, I couldn't really make it make sense in my mind, but now it's pretty obvious that we got one of the best players in the draft in Jack Campbell.
Jack Harrington says Sam endorsing someone equals Jinx City. Is this true, Sam?
Well, I mean, I also was higher on Aiden Hutchinson than I think anybody in this building. I know he was a number 2 overall pick, but there were some questions about him. There were some people who were like, oh my God, the Georgia game. Kayvon Thibodeau's got a higher upside. So I get some things right every once in a while. I would say more than every once in a while. You guys just need to listen up a little bit and not just magnify my mistakes.
Well, I'll say this about the whole conversation around Jack in this linebacker room, because I agree with what people are saying, and Hoofhearted also commented this, and I can't find the comment. Oh, there you go. Last offseason, we thought we had 0 starting caliber linebackers. Now we feel like we have 4, which, it's a good problem to have. I wouldn't say they're all, anyone's elite or anything like that, but you got 4 solid guys.
Yeah, I would say you got 4 solid guys that pretty much, I think Jack Campbell's obviously the most talented one, but if something happens to Jack where he misses a couple of games, something happens to Anzalone, misses a couple of games, etc. with Derek Barnes and Malcolm Rodriguez, you have a guy that's damn near the same skill level filling in for him. I think as the years go on, Jack Campbell will separate himself, but year 1 as a rookie, I think it's a great situation to have. The Lions don't have a stellar linebacker room, but they definitely have a solid one.
And so at least the question I have, and I'll ask you, Sam, and then I'll go to Lucas on this. For Jack Campbell, how far can he or will he, or maybe he is right now, but separate himself from the rest of this linebacker core? Because there's question, Derek Barnes looks better than he did last year. Malcolm Rodriguez, we know how solid he is. Alex Anzalone is a guy that the coaching staff trusts, but what's the path for Jack Campbell to kind of rise to the top among these linebackers?
All right, so I think at the beginning of the year, obviously, it's I think he's going to separate himself from the beginning as the best linebacker on this team. I'd say the difference between Jack Campbell and the rest of them, obviously Malcolm Rodriguez looked very good last year. He had a very good game against Jacksonville. You see Derek Barnes is ascending, and Alex Anzalone had a career year last year. You know what they aren't that Jack Campbell is? Jack Campbell is a supreme talent. He was one of those guys that was put on earth to play linebacker. And I think some of the growing pains he might experience some in the beginning of the year, but by the end of the season, I think he will clearly separate himself as the best linebacker on this team, almost to the point where you are going to want to put a green dot right here on his helmet. I think it's going to be, at the beginning, he's going to be the best of all of them. But at the end of the year, you're going to be like, Jack Campbell is like the linchpin of this defense. You're starting off-ball linebacker for at least the duration of his rookie contract, and there's going to be no doubt that anybody can take his position.
What about you, Lucas? What do you think? How far can he ascend, or how quickly can he ascend to the top?
From the other linebackers in this?
Yes.
I mean, I think Jack Campbell has all the potential to be a top tier linebacker in this league, so take that where you want it. I think all of these guys besides Jack Campbell have very high floors with low ceilings. Jack Campbell has a high floor and extremely high ceiling. So when you talk about it, Jack Campbell has the potential, and I'm not discrediting Aiden Hutchinson, but I'm just saying as far as the production that you get out of him, a guy that's going to get 100 plus tackles as we expect, he has the potential to be the face of this defense as well with Aiden Hutchinson. So when it really comes down to it, Jack Campbell he's, in my opinion, definitely going to take over the linebacker room as far as being the most talented linebacker, probably by the end of the season, if not clearly in the next. And he has the potential to be the most talented player on this defense just with his natural skill set and size and his IQ to diagnose the plays. So I think he's going to be one of those guys where before the play, we are going to see Jack Campbell moving everywhere, kind of like how Luke Kuechly did, adjusting the defense, getting him in the right spots. And that's what's going to make Jack Campbell so vital, because not only is he going to be good, but he's going to make everyone around him so much better just because of the football player that he is and the things that he knows about football.
And I'll say this about Jack Campbell. I do think he'll be starting next to Anzalone, but Anzalone to me will be linebacker 1 this year. Now this is a lot of experience that Jack Campbell can kind of take in and learn next to Anzalone. I think he'll have the green dot, obviously, but next year and the year after that, like, it's Jack Campbell time. As the years go on, Anzalone's not getting any younger. Jack is only going to get better. So I think this year he'll be kind of groomed along. He'll play a lot. I don't think he won't play. Clearly he's going to play a lot. He'll even start. But I think Anzalone's going to be linebacker 1 this year, and then as time goes on, it'll be Jack Campbell's time. But they got a stud. I'm not saying that he won't start this year or anything like that, but you know, they did re-sign Anzalone, and he still is kind of their best linebacker.
Well, I think that is more technicality. I think Alex Anzalone might have the title as linebacker 1, and obviously he has more experience, but I just think you're going to see from week 1 on that Jack Campbell is the better player. And I'm not saying this as a shot against Alex Anzalone. I think what he did last year was very, very good and commendable, but that is his ceiling. His ceiling is mid, by definition mid. I know mid has kind of become a derogatory term, but by definition it means you're a middle of the pack linebacker, which he was last year, maybe even a little below middle of the pack, but still his ceiling is mid. Jack Campbell's ceiling is certainly not mid. Is he going to hit it this year? Probably not, but it wouldn't shock me if he comes close to it by the end of the year, and then maybe even surpasses the ceiling at some point, which we even think he has. I mean, Lucas, you're talking about him maybe being the face of this defense someday.
He could be. I mean, I'm not saying it's a fucking guarantee, but if there's like we talk about impact on the game, stopping the run, stopping the pass, that's what Aiden Hutchinson does, and that's what Jack Campbell's going to be in a position to do, because Jack Campbell is also an amazing blitzer. And I think what we discredit about this is Jack Campbell's strengths as a player, even in his rookie season, are what a lot of the Lions' defense's weaknesses were, as far as sniffing out screens, stopping the plays before they get past the line of scrimmage. Jack Campbell, even if he's not the one making the tackle, he's going to take on a block or allow Rodriguez, Anzalone, all those things that the Lions needed, Jack Campbell brings from the linebacker unit. I think he's just overall just a safer player to have on the field, and he's without a doubt the most athletic player in that linebacker room.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think upside, right, potential, size, definitely. But he checks all the boxes. The only thing I think the Lions would be worried about is his inexperience. I don't know if you want, Jack Campbell being linebacker 1, this year. But again, I'm not going to argue with any of the facts you guys are bringing up about Jack. It's exciting, to say the least. I think he'll be out there immediately, and I can't wait to watch this dude. And Hoofhearted made a great point as well, comparing him to Aiden. He says Campbell will likely be Hutch of last season. First half of the season, he was okay, learning, and blew up the second half of the season. I could see a similar trajectory from Jack Campbell.
I don't know, though, because
Sam, no one's saying he's going to be second in Defensive Player of the Year.
No.
We're just saying that the trajectory. He's going to struggle, but then be very, very good.
You actually didn't know where I was going with that. I think Jack Campbell will actually acclimate himself quicker than Aiden Hutchinson, because Aiden Hutchinson, you remember what he had to walk into last year. He was supposed to be the savior of a defense, which the previous year was terrible. We had no idea that 4 rookies would make a huge impact, but that's what Aiden Hutchinson was tasked with. Jack Campbell, he's coming to a defense in which he could be one of the missing pieces of one that goes from, as a whole, being bad last year, but definitely improving down the stretch, to being a very very, very good defense. I don't know if he will ever be as impactful as Aiden Hutchinson as a whole, but I think he will definitely acclimate himself quicker, mainly because of the situation and because Jack Campbell is just one of the smartest football players coming out of college I think the Lions have drafted in like 5 to 10 years.
Well, here's this comment, though. Chuck Brewer says, disagree. Edge rushers just go. Linebackers have to read and react, which is also a great point.
That's the thing where it's like, to Flannel's point, we've seen Jack Campbell do exactly that consistently through this preseason. And I understand that it's going to take, obviously, some time for him to fully come into form. But what you see week 1, he's not going to have a tackle in his face every time where he's going to have to learn how to get off this tackle. Now he's going to be able to read the gap and now just use his natural ability to get through the gap. And there's going to be a guy that's probably not as big as him. They're not 6'5", 230, whatever Jack Campbell is. And it's just through the preseason, you have watched him. If anything, he's kind of over-pursued instead of under-pursuing, and that's what you'd rather see because it's going to turn him to the inside where there's more help. And I just think Jack Campbell, I understand that, it's going to take some time. But then again, this is exactly why people were excited at the draft pick, if you were. I understand a lot of people here were questioning it, but Jack Campbell's a linebacker you can plug in on day 1, and he will be able to hold his own.
There might be those times, though, like week 1 against Andy Reid's offense, where he's a little, he's going to be confused. And it's the first-team offense, right? Like, this Kansas City offensive line, one of the better offensive lines in the league. He hasn't faced an offensive line like that with the Giants second stringers and the Jags second stringers. It'll be an adjustment period, but we all agree, man, Jack Campbell, he's that dude. No question about it. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break when we get back. I do want to get into a Sam Laporta conversation because there's a graphic on Woodward Sports, all social medias that, is a great question. We'll ask it when we come back from break, but before we do that, I got to hear about our friends from Randy Wise.
Yeah, Randy Wise is where you can go and get yourself into a celebrity level vehicle after you watch the latest episode of the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour at woodwardsports.com and the Woodward Sports YouTube channel. We had a great time out at Darren McCarty's outing this past Friday, doing a little celebrity tour with Braylon Edwards and a special guest who will be announced soon. So be sure to tune in for that and go down to Randy Wise and make the wise choice.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. Because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show at woodwardsports.com and the Woodward Sports YouTube. Thank you for tuning in this morning. If you haven't already, follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. There's been great updates, and as football season, regular season approaches, more and more and more, as well as more merchandise available on our website, woodwardsports.com. If you're listening via podcast, download this episode and leave a 5-star review.
JB's already rocking the merch, too. He's got the WSN shirt on, as you can see.
Always.
Is that
JB's always
the
dripping,
mitten
man.
on there, too? My gosh.
Also, the central hat today.
Got to.
Yeah, what's with the central look, JB? You a Chippewa fan?
I am a little bit too, yeah.
Okay.
Just because I had some time. I spent some time out there, Mount Pleasant. It's a cool place to be.
Hey, those are the days
those
for JB.
nights.
Those are the
those
days.
nights, I'll say that.
It's a dog off the leash over in Central. I'll tell you that for JB. But I do want to bring up Sam Laporta because and kind of compare him and ask the question, where will he rank at the end of the season among tight ends? Now, here's the question, and this is on Woodward Sports, Twitter, Instagram. It says top tight ends. After the 2023 NFL season, where will Sam Laporta rank among other tight ends around the league? Now, interesting question. I would say this, and we'll just go through, a typical top 10 list for tight ends, right? You got to have a list with Kelsey, Kittle, Mark Andrews, a Dallas Goedert, a TJ Hawkinson. All right, we're already at 5. Darren Waller.
Pat Freiermuth.
Pat. I would say David.
We'll leave for right now. We'll leave. I'm going to say Kyle Pitts. I'll put Kyle Pitts.
Yes, there you go. There's 7 or 8. And then I would say Dalton Schultz maybe cracks that. He's 9. But you see what
I get what you're saying.
But look at how we're struggling to get to 10. That's why I wanted to bring this question up, because you go through the best tight ends, at least in the National Football League. A guy like George Kittle, right? His rookie year, he didn't start in every game, but he played in every game. 500 yards. That was his stat total. But he was drafted in the 5th round. And then you go to a guy like a T.J. Hockenson, who was drafted, as Lions fans know, 8th overall. His rookie year, he didn't play the entire season, but in 12 games, 367 yards.
That's all Hockenson had his rookie year?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, my.
But
he missed some games.
He did.
Still.
But even a guy like Dalton Schultz, again, Dallas Goedert, excuse me, didn't start every game. You notice a trend here, how tight ends aren't typically thrown out there immediately. And for a guy like Dallas Goedert, 300 yards and 4 touchdowns his rookie year. So Sam Laporta, and I say all that to say this. Tight end is one of the hardest positions for a rookie to come into the league and immediately just break out. Like we see wide receivers like a Justin Jefferson walk into the NFL and put up 1,400 yards. A Jamar Chase, right? These guys can come in and produce. Tight end's a little different. Like I think Sam Laporta in the next 2 to 3 years can be a top 10 tight end. I don't think it's going to happen by the end of this season. Now, realistic numbers for a guy like Sam Laporta, I would say he could get a 500 yards. Maybe 500 something yards. To say he can get 700 like in his rookie year, I think it's a little optimistic. I'll just say that. Even though he's got the talent, for him to walk in and put up 700, I mean, let's chill for a second. Let's chill for a second.
Lucas, I want to go first because I want to
take the floor.
I want to be like a little bit of the voice of reason as well before Lucas says he's having a 1,000-yard season as a rookie. I'm kidding. But anywho, let me actually respond to this comment really quick. And this is Dave Schultz, somebody who I've had many, many battles with, and I think we look at sports very, very differently. Why is Hawk that high? What has he ever proven? Well, Dave Schultz, he was second in the NFL in receiving yards by a tight end last year. I bet you're a big Sam Laporta guy and thought that T.J. Hockenson was just trash. Let me just guess.
There's nothing wrong with being a big Sam Laporta guy, Flannel.
Okay, fine, but you can't say that T.J. Hockenson has done nothing. But anywho, that's kind of my point.
Anywho,
I think that Sam Laporta this season will have between 30 and 40 catches and between 400 and 550 receiving yards and between 3 and 5 touchdowns. And so that, to me, that's a very, very solid rookie year, and I would take that. But like to Jeff's point, I think that this season, as a rookie, Sam Laporta will be near the top of the bottom half of the tight ends in this league, maybe like 16th, 17th, or 18th, because you guys didn't even mention, are we sure he's going to be better than Cole Kmet? Are we sure he's going to be better than Tyler Higbee?
Tyler Higbee, without a doubt. You can take that Tyler Higbee take out to the trash.
Okay, fine.
Cole Kmet, I could see.
I'm not going to die on that
being
hill.
Close, but because Cole Kmet's been in the league for a little while.
Yeah, Cole Kmet's nice.
He's solid, but Laporta's more talented. But then again, like Jeff's point, it's hard to come in year one and be a tight end in the NFL. So I could see that. That's not a bad take. Tyler Higbee, though.
And for the record, I'm not even saying for sure. I'm just asking the question because the numbers that I just gave you was about what Tyler Higbee put up last year. Are we sure this year that he's going to be better than Gerald Everett? Like Sam Laporta is going to be better than Gerald Everett as a player, but this season.
But you're saying production-wise.
Well, production and even impact.
And we haven't brought up Noah Fant.
I was going to say Noah Fant. I was just about to bring up Noah Fant. Hey, another Iowa tight end. Is Sam Laporta a better talent and going to be better? I think so. But Noah Fant also, I think he's going to struggle to get targets playing with like JSN and Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But still, are we sure this season, Lucas, is he going to be better than Hayden Hurst?
Dude,
I know
now we're pushing buttons.
Hayden Hurst is
He's got a rookie quarterback. No, I understand it's
I understand that.
Best friend for a rookie quarterback.
Yes.
But what do you think Hayden Hurst's stat line is going to look like at the end of 2026?
Well, similar.
Well, what about a guy like Evan Ingram, who's just brought back to
you guys didn't even mention Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
I think it's way too premature to say Sam Laporta is definitely going to be better than Evan Ingram. Yeah. And I'm even going to bring up a couple of names that, Lucas, you're not going to like. What
Cameron
about
Hayward for the Steelers? No. Is he going to be better?
Connor Hayward blows. He should have never gotten drafted. But anywho, let's talk about Dalton Kincaid and Michael Mayer. This season, is Sam Laporta for sure better than them?
Michael Mayer. Yeah,
I know you were scoffing at Michael Mayer.
Okay,
Oh my God, Michael Mayer's terrible, and Sam Laporta's a Hall of Famer, right? Like, I'm asking the question, Lucas. That's all I'm doing.
Well, I think to kind of stick up for the Sam Laporta stuff, if we're gonna bring up rookies, I'm not. Trust me, the rookies, Sam Laporta's better. Like, because they're all under. They all have to adjust the same way into the NFL. Now, if we're talking about guys that have been in the league, now I'm a little, like even a Gerald Everett. Like, yeah, he'll eventually be better, but this year, maybe not. But you can't bring up rookies. They're all going to have that same. They're all going to have to get over the same humps.
But so is Sam Laporta,
right,
Jeff.
Right.
So is Sam Laporta.
But you can't sit there and say, "What about Michael Mayer?" Well, what about Sam Laporta? They're all good. They're both going to have to adjust. They're both rookies.
Well, I mean, Dalton Kincaid was a first-round draft pick, and Sam Laporta and Michael Mayer were not.
He was picked like 5 picks after
I'm just
him.
saying that it's fair to question: is Sam Laporta definitely going to be better than those two as a rookie? I don't know. He could be.
I think he will.
Okay, fine. You think. Thinking isn't knowing, Jeff.
But I'm talking. But hold on a second. With veterans, yes, that's fair. Rookies, like, that's a toss-up, Sam.
Okay,
I'm not going to argue Evan Ingram. I'm not going to argue George Kittle, T.J. Hawkinson. But Michael Mayer? Are you shitting me? They're all rookies.
They're all rookies. But you guys are treating Michael Mayer like he's this just like piece of trash tight end.
But it's a toss-up. They're both rookies.
Okay,
you're acting like it's a, well, are you sure? Well, are you sure Michael Mayer's going to be better?
My
They're
point
both rookies.
is that you have to include them in the conversation as people who could be more productive and better than Sam Laporta as rookies. I think Sam Laporta is definitely capable of being the best rookie tight end of this draft class. I think when it's all said and done, it's pretty damn likely, and I hope that it's the case. I'm just saying that I don't think Sam Laporta is clearly separated himself amongst like skill set and situation to be clearly better than those two. I know you're not saying that either. I just think it's a conversation.
Yeah, and that's fair. Now,
Okay.
veterans, I'll say those guys compared to a rookie, now that I can't give you. But if you're telling me Michael Mayer, they're all rookies, yeah, I'm taking Sam Laporta. But like that, my point is comparing them to guys that have been in the league, like an Evan Ingram, who had a great year last year. That's where I'm like, can Sam Laporta walk in and jump him? No, I don't think so.
Either,
no, I don't. Michael Mayer, and again, Michael Mayer could come out and have a similar rookie year. Who knows? But the point is, and Ryan Reactions put this in, and I didn't forget about your comment, 2 to 3 years for tight ends is typically fair, right? I think like maybe even next year for Sam Laporta can be that 700-800 yard year. But you, Lucas, what do you think? Where can he end up?
I mean, I've been steady with this. I said 500-600 yards, 4 or 5 touchdowns, and Jesse Adams, don't think I forgot. I'm not worried about James Mitchell's production in this offense. I think Sam Laporta is going to be the clear number one, and I think he's in the best situation, kind of like, I'll give it to you guys. The veterans, I think that's a very clear point. When you talk about Michael Mayer, he's in Oakland who likes running the ball a lot. He's got Jimmy G throwing the ball, and he's got Devontae Adams on the outside. So I think just in itself, Laporta gets more value than him. He's more athletic, so he's going to create more separation, create more opportunities. The one guy that I could see maybe giving Laporta a run for his money is Kincaid. But then again, there's a lot of mouths to feed in that offense as well. I think Laporta is just the most safe tight end that you could have possibly took in this draft, and he's going to a very safe offense and a very safe system with a consistent quarterback and consistent playmakers around him. I think he's set up for success. I truly do.
Right.
And that's why I've said all the takes that I have about him. When you add in his ability, I think he's probably going to be like a top 15 tight end this year. I think you have a lot of the veterans kind of starting out that top 10. Then you got the Cole Kmets of the world. Trying to think. I like Okonkwo, I think his name is, from Tennessee.
Yeah, he's nice.
He's solid. He's athletic. I could see him having a better season production-wise, but I think Laporta will be a fine blocker too. So, but yeah, Michael Mayer, no.
He's going to be good.
Michael Mayer's for 1980s football. He'll be good. He'll be getting you 45 to 50 catches his whole career, but I don't expect Michael Mayer to have like a huge rookie season, then let alone another huge jump after that. I think Michael Mayer is exactly why I'm so excited for Sam Laporta, because he's pretty much the exact opposite.
Now, could I make this argument, Sam Flannel, because Steve brought this up, and now I was going to bring this up about Dalton Kincaid, but Steve says Michael Mayer has Austin Hooper ahead of him. Not saying Austin Hooper is this elite tight end, but Dalton Kincaid, who does he have ahead of him?
Dawson Knox.
So we're talking about two tight ends that are tight end 2 in their offense respectively. Sam Laporta is walking in as the best tight end you have.
No, that's
Not
fair.
saying James Mitchell won't produce, but you see the argument there? Like he has, like Lucas said, the floor is his to have a great year.
Yeah.
He's not playing behind an Austin Hooper or a Dawson Knox.
Yeah, and that is probably the most fair argument that's been made, that he could be more productive than those two this year. I think that I think Austin Hooper is a little bit over the hill.
Yeah,
Dawson Knox is obviously
been over the hill.
He's been over the hill. Yes.
After Atlanta.
Yes, I think that Michael Mayer will be tight end 1, but still, Austin Hooper, even this version of Austin Hooper, is better than Brock Wright, James Mitchell, or, well, not Shane Zylstra anymore. He's out for the season. But, I mean, you're right, though, about Dalton Kincaid. I mean, they already had Dawson Knox, and Dawson Knox was a pretty damn good red zone target and a pretty damn good tight end in his own right. I think Dalton Kincaid is more talented, but still, they're not just going to push, Dawson Knox off to the side. He's going to get some targets too. So I don't think he has a dominant season either, for the record, Dalton Kincaid.
What about this one? B-Rye section says Luke Schoonmaker is going to kill it in Dallas. He could push Laporta for the best rookie numbers. Luke Schoonmaker.
Hey, Scoot.
No.
Luke Schoonmaker, I love what he did at Michigan, and I think he can be a pretty good player in the Cowboys offense, but he's not Sam Laporta. I'm not crazy enough to say that.
Trey Adams.
Trey Adams had a good comment.
Darnell Washington, dude.
Darnell
Trey
Washington
Adams
has looked like a monster in Steelers training camp too.
Thank you for bringing that up, Trey, because yeah, he has. Like, what a specimen. What he's doing
I don't know.
at
That'll be one of those guys where I don't know if he's ever going to put up monster stats, but he'll be like, without a doubt, like a Pittsburgh fan favorite. I think around the NFL they're going to be, what was he, a third-round pick, I believe? A third, fourth around.
I'd have to double check, but
maybe a second. But either way, he's gonna be one of those guys where it's like, this guy is this big, this athletic, played at Georgia, so he's going up against Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, etc. during practice every day. So he's basically been going up against the NFL offensive line. So the guy's gonna be blocking people on the sideline. He has tremendous athletic ability, so he could be one of those guys, 100%, that if there's a guy that if he had full volume could give Laporta a run for his money, it's him. But he's got Pat Freiermuth in front of him.
Right, yes, and that's the thing about Darnell Washington is he's always been kind of hiding behind it, at least a better tight end right now. He hasn't been able to really produce like Brock Bowers at Georgia. He never really had an opportunity to show how much of a receiving threat he is. Because he was kind of advertised as like an extension of your offensive line, but he's a weapon.
He's an athlete, a big athlete too.
Big athlete. And LFG says Bills will use Kincaid as a wide receiver, not just tight end. Well, that's fair.
That's fair.
And he
but they
definitely
were doing it in the preseason game. Kincaid looked good.
Yeah, he did.
But just
I like Kincaid a lot.
Laporta.
He was one of my favorites. To him, Sam Laporta was up there, but I like Dalton Kincaid a lot coming out. So I think he'll be a great player. Derek Lewis says, how would you grade Ben Johnson's performance over the preseason? Dude, it's all vanilla. Like I'm not going to grade anything of Ben Johnson until the season starts, because they're just throwing out the most simplistic sets for these guys. You don't want to give anything away in the preseason.
And when your quarterback can't even hand the ball off to the running back, your offensive coordinator is probably not going to look that well, and it's not his fault either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to have the discussion about the preseason and if the Lions should play their starters. We'll go around the room and get everybody's thoughts on that. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at SMA, because the sports marketing agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Help fight the stigma by seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com. That's thesportsma.com.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
All right, play, practice, and party at 5 Iron Golf, located inside of the Cambria Hotel.
Ooh.
Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulators, certified instructors, and a full bar and restaurant. Mention promo code Woodward at checkout for 50% off your first visit, and visit 5irongolf.com to tee up good times. Woodward Sports Network is also participating in a Thursday night golf league on the simulators with fans. This league is hosted by 5 Iron Golf and co-presented by Mark White and Associates and Long Drink Alcoholic Beverage. Yes, you guys can face us in 5 Iron Golf. You guys will probably beat me down pretty bad, because if you saw my swing last Thursday, it is pretty damn brutal. It might have even been worse than Lucas's and JB's, and that is saying something. Lucas, you got a chance to practice later. I did not. But yes, 5 Iron Golf is an excellent place, and we just broadcasted from there. And you guys can go to 5 Iron Golf too. That is 5irongolf.com.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, Jay Bree, Gabrielle D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. Packed show today, covering a lot of Lions football over the weekend. But we want to talk about this upcoming week. Friday, they take on the Panthers. They're on the road, their last preseason game before a little bit of a break. And then it's on to Kansas City on the road, Thursday Night Football. But the question I have is should the Lions play their starters? Because Dan Campbell, players coach, right? He's always looking out for his players. Hasn't played Jared Goff. Hasn't played some of the offensive starters. No offensive linemen specifically, but you see around the league that teams are playing their starters. Some teams, a guy like Andy Reid, who is respected, has won Super Bowls. He's playing Patrick Mahomes out there. But then there's other teams that, like a Sean McVay, for example, he hasn't played Matthew Stafford for obvious reasons, but he also had success. So I guess it's give or take. It's whatever your opinion is, but I'll start with you, Sam Flannel. I'll go last here. Should the Lions play their starters at all this last preseason game?
All right, I think we shall see on this one. I don't know if there's necessarily a right or wrong answer, because to be fair, when it comes to the Lions training camp, and I'm knocking on wood, they have been relatively healthy. I'd say as Lions fans, if we would have known we would have gotten this bill of health through the second preseason game, we would have taken it 100 times out of 100. They did have one injury scare, and that was C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which didn't turn out to be as serious as we thought. Obviously, Jamison Williams, he's not going to play for the first 6 games anyway. Amon-Ra St. Brown got a little bit dinged up with his ankle, but I don't think it's anything serious. But the C.J. Gardner-Johnson thing, it happened in practice, so injuries can theoretically, yes, cue up the Allen Iverson. I mean, injuries can theoretically happen both in practice, in training camp, in joint practice. They can happen in preseason games. They can happen anywhere. I think we will see when the regular season starts to see if these guys are rusty, because I actually made a list. This is the list of guys who so far have not played a single down in preseason. David Montgomery, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Frank Ragnow, Ali McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kirby Joseph, Cam Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and Aiden Hutchinson. None of those guys have played at all this preseason. And then you even look around the league and you're seeing Patrick Mahomes out there. I mean, so obviously the Dan Campbell is taking the approach of being extra cautious and not wanting these players to get hurt and thinking that preseason is relatively meaningless, which in the wins and losses in the stat sheet it is. So if he's already gone this far not playing the starters in the preseason, at this point, just hold them all out.
Yeah.
Hope to God they're not rusty when the season starts, because you can't afford to be rusty going to Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1. But I think this is just a philosophical thing with Dan Campbell. He's tested it out the first couple of years, and he's decided that starters playing in preseason is not important. And if the Lions go out and do everything that they're expected to do in the regular season, win a playoff game, we'll be like, Dan Campbell was a genius.
Right.
And hopefully that'll happen. I think it's just a philosophical thing at this point.
Yeah, and the difference is the Lions have had joint practices, which I think are more valuable at times in preseason games. I do. You're getting live reps against starters. That's more valuable to me than a preseason game, quite frankly. Because you look at the Lions the last 2 weeks, they've had the Giants, they've had the Jags. They don't have anybody this week, so I guess the argument there would be, well, maybe you could see some live game reps this week before you break, and then you carry over to Kansas City. I would like to see the starters out there for maybe a drive. But if they don't play, cool. Because again, and this is a great point people are bringing up, and Kansas City have not had joint practices, so hence why Patrick Mahomes is out there. Lions are a little different. They got a lot of work done this past training camp with 2 teams, respectively, for joint practices. So I'm not as concerned about it. If they play, great. If they haven't, the starters have gotten a majority of their work already up against 2 pretty good football clubs. In joint practices.
The Detroit Lions should not send any of their starters out there. It's week 3 of the preseason. If they wanted to, they should have done it the first game. But I'm telling you, Brad Holmes, former player, Aaron Glenn, former player, Mark Brunell, former player, they know how to get this team ready for the regular season. That is preventing injuries of the starter. If your starters are going showing you everything you need against joint practice when you have the same coordinators, a lot of these teams, KC, new coordinator, Denver, Sean Payton threw out that offense for their starters for full 4 drives. And it's not because, I want to see what they can do. It's like, okay, no, these guys need to get more in-game reps together. You don't really know what you're getting out of it. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. He's gotten a lot of more receivers that he didn't have last year. So that chemistry has to be built. The Lions' chemistry is pretty much intact from last season. Yeah, they have added a couple extra. They added Jahmyr Gibbs. They added David Montgomery. They added C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cam Sutton. But for the most part, this is the same system. And they've added running backs or veteran players that will just be able to step in and be perfectly fine with these joint practices. They're going up against talented teams. They just went up against Jacksonville, who's going to be winning the AFC South and probably top seed in the AFC in general. They went against New York. I don't think New York's going to be a playoff team, but that's one of those teams where if you go into New York and you're sleeping, they're going to smack you in your face. So I think it's great that they had that. And then who did they get smacked in the face against last year? Carolina. Right. They're going to be going all week this week, the starters versus starters in Carolina. So now they can really see how much have we improved defensively from last year. And if they're content with it, by all means, I wouldn't even be mad if Jack Campbell didn't step foot on this field. This is just to see, in my opinion, against Carolina. We talked about the Julian, the Romeo, the John Kaminsky's of the world of who can really separate themselves. I think this is all about who wants to separate themselves even more to become a starter, and it's just really going to come down to clearing out the bottom end guys who's like, you're going to make the team, make the practice squad, or you're going to be cut. That's what this week is all about in my mind. I would not want to see a single starter for the Detroit Lions stepping foot on the field.
Yeah, and Chuck Brewer says, what does one series really do for you against the Panthers?
You would lose more than you would gain. Like, think about the best thing that you'd get out of the Lions. A 4-play touchdown drive, great, that'd get you excited. But now we just have Amon-Ra St. Brown who got a little bit banged up. If he goes out there and tweaks his ankle or something, now you are screwed for Kansas City week 1. Penei Sewell rolls his ankle, he's out week 1, you are screwed week 1. Same thing on the defensive side. You lose more than you could ever possibly gain.
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess my pushback would be, and trust me, you're right, more risk typically than reward, especially with injuries. And you don't want a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown injured, or Jared. But the other part of that would be at least they get to suit up and go out there in a stadium for an NFL game and actually, execute a drive.
They've done it before, though.
Yes, they've done it, but before Kansas City. Like, you're basically saying, okay, Jared's just going to get work in joint practices, and then boom, you're in Arrowhead with that crowd. Let's go. And I know he has experience. I'm not saying he's a rookie or anything like that, but still, there's value in that. Getting out there. Patrick Mahomes, I understand, because his wide receiver core is young, so the reps he needs with those guys, it's very obvious. Jared has reps with a lot of these guys already, but at least just to see Jared on the road, suit up and play a drive, it would be nice, but also it's probably not even worth the risk, and they gotten plenty of work. But what about you, Gabrielle?
I
what
would
do you
be
think?
really surprised if they play in this game, because Dan Campbell has been incredibly steadfast in saying they're going to have them be practicing in game situations during these joint practices, and then they're going to be evaluating those depth pieces and their big question marks during the preseason games. I don't think that they have all the answers on those depth pieces. Wow. Say that 3 times fast. I can't talk this Monday morning. Depth pieces yet. So for that reason, and the risk involved with putting them in this early, if anything, it may happen for like one drive. But again, what would you get out of that one drive that they're not already getting in these game situations in the joint practices?
Yeah, and again, that's fair. And like what Lucas was, and you kind of alluded to it already. I understand the joint practices; they're already getting a ton of work already, and the reps against starters. I understand all that, and again, the risk probably isn't worth it. But there's something about going out there, the pregame process. You're suited up. You go out there, everyone's together, and you at least get one last time before you get to Kansas City. I don't know, because again, Dan Campbell understands how important this slow start could be if they get off to one. It's not good. So maybe he's confident they've gotten all the work they need, and that's fair. I'm letting Dan make that decision. But there is some value in going out there for a drive or a couple plays.
And I get what you're saying as far as wanting to get out there, but let's be realistic for a second. It's in Carolina. What is a drive in a preseason game against Carolina going to prepare you for an opening drive? You're kicking the season off against Patrick Mahomes at Kansas City and Arrowhead. I think it's just completely like, it's here, and the week one is going to be here. So it's just like, I get what you're saying about the preparation.
Yeah, it's just game reps.
You can't prep for a situation like that as far as mentally. Like, you're going to be in the moment. It's just going to be one of those things where it's like, you're either cut for this moment or you're not, and that's what we're going to see.
It's also going to depend on what Carolina does. If Carolina's not putting their starters out, what benefit would they be getting of putting our starters out against people that are not going to be exactly chalking up to that competition, let alone chalking up to the competition that they're going to face against Kansas City?
Yeah, and trust me, I'm not, and I understand you're going to Kansas City, like you're going up like 10 steps. So I'm not arguing that. But at least they'd be, they have experience on the road. They get their feet wet. Again, you get to just, shake off some of the dust, if anything. I mean, they have not played in a stadium yet. So that's all I'm saying. And Booner's chiming in here. He says, I might be with Jeff on this one, on the road, just to get the field for playing with the whole stadium full of fans, get your feet wet a little more so Arrowhead isn't your first day back in it. That's my concern. Again, not that it'll make or break week one, but it is. I think there is some value in it for a drive. But is it worth the risk of injury? No. But Sam Flannel, I wouldn't mind it.
Well,
I wouldn't mind it at all.
I think there's this idea, which is a little bit flawed, but I understand it, that joint practices in a preseason game are the exact same things. In joint practices, you might not be able to hit the quarterback. You might not be going full speed. I know at times that you are, but at the same time, if you want to go out there and experience game action where you're actually keeping score and the strategy of the game and everything like that, I think preseason is a little bit more valuable, at least for reps. But the question is, do the Lions, especially the guys that I mentioned before, guys who are going to be starters, will it even do anything for them? I would say at this point, probably not, especially if you haven't played them in the first two. Just imagine this. And I don't think this is going to happen because I think Dan Campbell is going to hold the starters out. Imagine just trying to get, the feet wet of the starters a little bit, get them some game action, and one of their best players goes down with a season-ending injury.
Not even that. Imagine just like 2 weeks.
Sure. And I was just talking worst-case scenario, but even like those 2 weeks, that's Kansas City.
A slow start.
That's Kansas City and Seattle. So,
and I'm not saying play guys that there might be injury concerns with, like Frank Ragnow don't play,
of course.
No, but we get what you're saying.
Yeah,
We're
but like a Jared,
extremes of it.
Yeah, like Jared. If Amon-Ra's banged up, then don't play him. But at least Jared, you could have him out there with Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond. You at least get some reps, live game reps on the road, which this team just until last year wasn't great on the road. That's part of it. And I just think it'll help them prepare for Kansas City better. You get live reps in an away stadium with fans. I don't know. I like the reps. If they don't play, I'm cool with that too. But we shall see.
Get the answers tomorrow down at camp and let you know.
And again, maybe it's partially they don't have joint practices this week, so maybe they'll playing a drive in that game on Friday might help them more than it has previous weeks because they've gotten work against the Giants and the Jaguars. We'll go to break when we get back. I want to bring up the Jameson Williams discussion about how the stupid rule in the NFL, and I'm going to tell you what it is, and it does not make any sense to me, but we'll get into all that when we come back. But before we do that, can you tell everybody where they can get a haircut? The best haircut.
Sam yes, the best haircut. And you know what? You guys really don't like me today, and that is fine because you know what? I have great hair, and I always keep this good hair in tip-top shape at Lady Jane's with any of their wonderful stylists. And how would you like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right, a new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White and Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Academy of Warren. They have a brand new state-of-the-art sports dome field house that has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field. They also have, things featuring for K through 8, which you can enroll your child at Academy of Warren. They feature small room classroom sizes, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, academic games, and K through 8 athletics. Don't forget, Ermanni and Edwardsville Mavs will be broadcasting live from their carnival on August 24th. Come meet the staff and explore your child's potential new school. The Academy of Warren is now accepting new enrollment. Go to theacademyofwarren.net. Halfway through the second hour, it's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Gabrielle D. Phillips, and Lucas Klotz. Thanks for sticking with us. If you haven't already, hit the like button. We'll try to get you 150 likes by the end of the show. Still some lines to get into. I want to get into the Jameson Williams conversation because, Jameson, hamstring injury, took him out the rest of the preseason. But here's the messed up part. He can receive treatment from the Detroit Lions once the season starts due to his 6-game gambling suspension. Williams' hamstring injury obviously requires rehab, so therefore the Detroit Lions are searching for a solution to the problem. I know a solution. Let the man get help.
It's almost like you should let the doctors who diagnose the injury kind of treat it. Instead of going to a third party and assuming that, And the NFLPA, we care about our players. No, you don't if you do stuff like this. This is just easily trying to prove a point that you're suspended, so you're not going to get anything from us. This guy's going to come back in 6 weeks, and if he gets an injury, he's going to be dealing with different doctors. Now, let him have the same doctor throughout the whole season. It makes no sense whatsoever.
So when this was brought up in the media session, hearing Dan Campbell's response to this makes me think that they're going to try and find some appeal to this as the solution rather than sending him somewhere else. It seems like it might be more of a bigger discussion with the NFL that they're going to have for the reasons that Lucas is saying.
Yeah, like NFL, players' health, all for the players, right? And then Jameson Williams hurts his hamstring. It's all right, bud, go to the urgent care down the street. Like, what are we doing here? This is ridiculous. The Lions should be able to treat Jameson Williams, but he's not out there on the field. He doesn't have to be around the team, at least while he's suspended for the time being. But still, he can't get treatment from the doctors, team doctors. That's ridiculous.
Okay, let's be.
Here we go.
You know what, Jeff? You know what? Oh, you guys didn't like me now. Just wait 5 minutes, Jeff. I think what you said there, the way that you framed it, was a little bit dishonest, because if Jameson Williams wanted to get treatment for his hamstring injury, maybe stay off your phone and don't place bets. I know. Call me crazy. I'm just saying that you guys are acting like if Jameson will. I mean, it's because he's suspended. It's not because, oh my God, it's you guys want to make Jameson Williams a victim badly. It's insane.
Okay, I understand.
He's suspended.
You did your wrong. You bet on a game. You're suspended for 6 games without pay. Now he's also missing on millions of dollars because he's not going to be able to get his rookie contract incentives. And now you can't even give the man the trainer that everybody else on the team besides him has. I understand he got suspended. The suspension has been dealt with. You are suspended from games without pay. You're losing millions of dollars. And let the man at least pick the doctor that had diagnosed the injury to begin with.
Okay, and for the record, I don't necessarily like the rule or anything. In a perfect world, would you love to see Jameson Williams get treated for this hamstring injury by the team doctors and everything? Yes. And just furthermore, I know we talk about it like it's a tweaked hamstring and it happens to everybody and it's no big deal, but what if he still has some issues with it and he can't see team doctors? That's why I think people are maybe making more of it than maybe they should, because he's going to be away from the team totally for what, 3 or 4 weeks, and you never know what somebody's going to do. You never know what's going to happen in terms of rehabbing a hamstring. I'm just saying that if he's suspended. That's why he can't do it. Every other player can if you can just stay on the field and not get suspended. And furthermore, and this is something that I have to bring up again, and a lot of people really aren't going to like this. I know the gambling suspension overall was a bit of a stupid rule. Then why aren't gambling suspensions being handed out like subpoenas at this point? You get a gambling suspension, you get one, you get one, you get one. That's not at all what's happened. Maybe Jameson Williams should have known the rules a little bit more, and maybe he shouldn't have gotten himself suspended. Well, no matter what the situation.
To answer your question about handing out, suspensions for gambling, there has been a lot of gambling suspensions this season.
No, like real top players though. You're acting. I mean, that's the thing. It's not going to affect teams' best players like it is. I mean, we don't know if Jameson Williams is one of their best players, but presumably one of their best players like it is with. Like that's the thing.
But here's where we differ, okay? Because the gambling stuff, we're talking about that to some extent because it affects the health, him to get treatment and care for his hamstring injury. But no one's sitting here defending the gambling suspension. What we're gambling is what's morally right. That's the argument. It's not about the gambling suspension is what it is. Morally, just because you're suspended, why should the Lions, they are unable, or they can't treat him for a hamstring injury? Like, that's ridiculous.
He hurt himself on the Lions practice field, therefore he should be able to get treatment by the Lions doctors because, 1, they diagnosed him, 2, they know his body already and how he is going to best respond to treatment. He's getting treatment from them right now. And not saying that there aren't other doctors out there that would be capable of doing this, but a doctor that I would go to if I tweaked my hamstring is going to be very different than a doctor that has trained his or her entire life to assist NFL athletes in quick recovery for the level that they are playing to and using their body to physically every single day and for a long period of time.
Do you understand that, Sam Flannel? No one's arguing that it's morally right. He should be able to go to the doctor that he's been dealing with his entire tenure with the Detroit Lions. Just because he's suspended, he shouldn't have to go to some random doctor that he has to get familiar with again. Do you get where we're coming from?
Of course, I understand.
I'm not defending the gambling suspension.
No, and it's not about the. I think let me try to rephrase this a little bit, because I understand what you're saying. In a perfect world, you would love for Jameson Williams to be able to get treated by the team doctors, like I said before, and if he weren't suspended, he would. My point is that you're basically asking an entire rule to be changed for Jameson Williams at this point. That is more my point.
Well, I think the whole thing around it is Jameson Williams bet on a college basketball game from a team hotel room, okay? We're acting like, some people act like he just Ray Rice some chick in an elevator, and that even got less consequence than this. So the fact that he's paying this much already for a consequence as a rookie on his rookie contract for betting on a college basketball game at a team hotel, which I understand it was wrong. He should have known the rules. Okay, you're now paying for it. But now when you're messing with the player's health, because let's not forget, he just tore his ACL. So he's probably going to want to go to the same doctor that he went with for his ACL injury. If that's outside of the team, then that's great. But I'd imagine he was doing most of his rehabilitation for his ACL with doctors that were on the Lions medical staff. So to act like this hamstring injury after an ACL injury, and he can't go back to the doctor that he was seeing before because he bet on a college basketball game, is just wild to me. I don't see the common sense in it at all. It's more so of an ego thing, in my opinion.
And I don't think this is the best outcome for the Lions either. I don't think Dan, and as Gabby talked about, I don't think Dan was excited about that. J-Mo going elsewhere to get treatment.
Right.
Like there's already a big expectations on J-Mo. You know, the hamstring injury, it's a small injury, but still, as the organization, I bet, would prefer him getting treated by their doctors as well. I don't think, a guy you selected in the first round has high expectations. I don't think even they're okay, even though he's suspended for gambling, to go to some other doctor.
But let's not just look at what this means for the Lions. Let's look at what this means for his career as a whole and his longevity within the NFL. And if we're talking about protecting NFL players within the NFL, you're trying to protect the NFL with this gambling rule and upholding this gambling rule. But there also has to be a balance with, we're also trying to protect this player's longevity of his career within your league. And how does it look on the NFL if they're prioritizing holding up this gambling suspension over the health of a player?
Yeah, this is not just J-Mo. This is all NFL, Sam. I'm not trying to just stick this on J-Mo. I'm talking about the entire NFL. For any NFL team, if you get suspended and you get hurt, you should get treatment by team doctors.
Has this happened before, or are they setting a precedent with this?
It's just,
I'm sure that, like, with a player like J-Mo, he's pretty unique as it comes just with the situation. But
yeah,
when you have a situation where it's like you're suspended for 6 weeks, usually it's something very significant. And I mean, you would say that, but then you go look at the Greg Hardys, the Ray Rices of the world. Like, they haven't really had that long of a suspension. Usually if a suspension's like this, it's because of an injury. And it's not, or not a suspension. You're missing time like this is because of an injury. If it's a suspension, well, you're probably not practicing with the team before the season like J-Mo is. So I think the whole thing is that J-Mo was still practicing because the suspension came down before the regular season, so he had an opportunity to get hurt, unfortunately, which happened. But I agree, like, if you're not, it's not changing it for J-Mo. I think it's changing it for players as a whole, even down the future if something like this happens. I think that's just the whole point on it all. Is like, yes, we love Jameson Williams. We want him to be healthy, but we also want the same thing for players down the line. Because I just don't think it's fair in general.
That's a principle moving forward.
All right, and you know what? I get all of that, and I know that I mean, I don't want to keep saying this, but in a perfect world, you guys are right. And as a compassionate human, it's all well and good. And as somebody who wants Jameson Williams to be healthy, it's all well and good. What I am saying is that out of the 2022 first round, 31 of the 32 didn't get a gambling suspension and can get whatever treatment they want at any time. The one that can't, Jameson Williams. Just poor J-Mo. Poor J-Mo. One catch his rookie year. Poor J-Mo. Gambling suspension. Poor J-Mo.
I think I would feel the same way for any player on this roster.
Yeah,
I don't think it's just because it's Jameson Williams.
And I guess it really depends on what you want for J-Mo. Like, for me, I want him to have success, so I want him to have the best treatment. And I think if you wanted him to have success, Sam, you would agree. But I think you saying what you're saying, there's a little different of a narrative.
You know what? I do want him to have success, but I'll tell you what. He's on alert. I will say a certain B word. He's on alert. He's not gonna. I'm not saying he's gonna be one. He's on alert.
Did that change because of the injury he received?
Okay, so
he's gonna be hurt out anyway.
No. Let me go really quick. I think he missed some very, very valuable training camp reps, some preseason game reps, and then I worry about a doctor who's not a team doctor treating his injury. I worry about that.
So, does this injury change your expectations? I should say. Do your expectations on Jameson Williams change because of the pulled hamstring?
No, it can't, because at some point he has to actually show that he's
I
great.
just wanted to make sure, because there were some people, like, especially in the chat and on social media, they're like, he's a bust now.
Yeah,
it's like
ridiculous.
he wasn't playing for the first 6 weeks anyways.
And by the way,
I understand he's hurt now, but we're going to act like, oh, Jameson Williams pulled his hamstring. He's now not going to be able to produce the rest of the season.
You
Like,
also
it was
have to
insane.
compare this to any other job in the country. You have workers' compensation.
It's
If you're
the NFL,
injured
though.
if you are injured at work, they're responsible for making sure you get the treatment for your injury at
so
work.
you can go back to work and work
This is exactly
for it.
this is exactly the same thing, low level or high level.
Okay, but like Jameson Williams is suspended. That's the difference. He is suspended. Nobody else out there who's of any high level is suspended.
But it's tricky because he wasn't injured when he was during his suspension. He's
That's fair.
injured on the field pre-suspension.
He didn't pull his thumb placing the bet on the game. If he did that, then maybe I could understand it. But this is months, weeks after the gambling suspension even happened. Like,
In
it's
joint
just-
practices.
It has nothing to do with the suspension. So why are we now? I mean, I understand it was always in the rules, but that's where I'm drawing. Why are we now adding this into the suspension?
Yeah, and the whole bust conversation, the only way you can fear that word is because of the health. Like skill set, but he ain't a bust from a skill set perspective. Now, if he's the availability thing, we'll hopefully when he comes back, we'll get him to produce. But regardless, this is messed up. I'll just say that. Hopefully, the NFL and the Detroit Lions come to some sort of agreement to get him just treatment for a hamstring injury. It's not that big of a deal. Imagine if it was worse. Like imagine if he had something worse and he couldn't get anything at the Lions facility. Like it is what it is. But Sam Flannel, could you tell us about our friends over at Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. And now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered, whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool. Your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at swissins.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
It's the Randy Wise Celebrity Golf Tour.
You're a good coach, Tim. Oh, great shot.
Some of the biggest names in Michigan sports, and some, well, not so much.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, baby.
Shit. Watch episodes at woodwardsports.com.
Welcome back. You're watching the Morning Woodward Show here at woodwardsports.com or the Woodward Sports YouTube, or maybe you're listening via podcast. If you're listening via podcast, download and leave a 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe, and then follow us on all social media at Woodward Sports. But now it is time for What's Trending with Lucas.
Check the clock, check your watches. It's that time.
Alrighty, people. It was a good weekend, some preseason action, but I think my favorite thing from the weekend was watching what I believe his name was Tier Tart. I believe that's how you say his name. What he did to Garrett Bradbury, the Vikings all-encompassing offensive lineman outside Darren Shaw, but this is what he did to him.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Just throws him. Kurt's gonna have some noise. That's Isaiah Buggs, Broderick Martin, Aiden Hutchinson. Because that's like honestly.
Did he hit him with the bow and arrow
Yeah.
too? No, he did. Look at he just said. He's like, watcha.
He wasn't
That's
ready for
disrespectful.
that one. But I just kind of want to get
Who
a
is
final-
this? Tier Tart?
Tier Tart. He's just, I don't know if he's like a younger guy, but obviously not a household name in the NFL. But what do you guys think this year? Before we head into regular season, week 1, will the Vikings be able to protect Kirk Cousins? Because we already know defense is shaky, but you need an offensive line too. So they're without a defense pretty much. Do you think their offensive line is going to be fine?
Well, I think Darrisaw helps out with that. He's one of the best young tackles in the league.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be fine, at least protecting the left side. But it's hard. The Vikings don't have a complete offensive line, but there's bigger issues to fry, at least with me, with the Vikings, other than their offensive line. I think defensively, there's a lot more issues there. But yeah, no doubt. But Darrisaw helps out with that same.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Christian Darrisaw, I think he's elite. I think he's going to be a star. But everywhere else, I think there's more question marks. So I think Kirk Cousins at times this year might be running for his life, but he's not that mobile. So when you're going up against the Minnesota Vikings, I'm talking to you like Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, even Ali McNeil. Get to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
if you get to him, he's down.
Go wreck it.
Okay, JB, you have any concerns about the Vikings O-line, or just you think they'll be fine?
All concerns. I'm sorry, Kirk Cousins is going to get killed back there, and let's just face it, they're tanking for Caleb Williams as it is.
You think so?
they already don't want him as their starting QB as it is, so
Yeah.
honestly, they want Caleb Williams.
It's already announced or at least expected that Kirk's out this season.
Yeah.
Like he's leaving. Maybe, hey, don't sleep in the 49ers with Kirk Cousins.
That would be a good fit, though.
Yeah, I think so, too.
We're sticking in Detroit. Detroit native Bart Scott. He had some high words
Bart
regarding the
Scott.
Lions and what he thinks going to happen week 1 at Kansas City, so tune in and see what he had to say.
Love me some Bart Scott.
Detroit 313, what up, though? I tell you what, I got to start off with that. I mean, we can't wait for football to be back. And I'm waiting for the Lions to restore the roar. You talk about 8 out of their last 10, the hottest team in all of football. Tremendous offseason. Yes, they're gonna upset the Kansas City Chiefs on the opening wing day ceremony. I can't wait to see it, Greeny.
Hey, you're not the only person who has said that.
Flannel.
Bart Scott, he knows
Now,
ball.
Bart Scott, Detroit native, ball knower, former New York Jet. I believe he was there when Braylon was there. What do you have to say to that? I know you think Burrowhead is the all-encompassing place to travel into, but I think Lions, week 1, they're going to pull the upset. I understand they got Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, but they still have a lot of pieces that they really haven't. I mean, we just talked about it. They're out there in preseason. They got a lot of young playmakers. The Lions have a lot of veteran DBs. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think the Lions will be able to control the line of scrimmage with David Montgomery. I think they pull off the upset. But Flannel, final words.
Oh, man. First off, that Burrowhead nonsense. Did you see that AFC Championship game last year? Did you see those Joe Burrow interceptions? Hey,
and the two meetings before that?
Hey, I mean, but Patrick Mahomes has parlayed his career into 2 Super Bowls. Joe Burrow has 0, and I don't think he'll get one his entire career. But that's another discussion for another day. I think that the Lions, I'm not saying that they have no chance to go into Kansas City and win. I've always said that if you're going to get them in week 1. But I think people are underestimating just how powerful and how good the Kansas City Chiefs are. Especially week 1, Andy Reid at home. It's okay if the Lions lose this game.
Yeah.
They can still accomplish everything that they want. They can still have whatever they like, as T.I. would say. But I still think they're going to lose at Kansas City week 1. Nothing wrong with that.
Jefferson?
I don't know, man. I at the
You
beginning.
scared? Are you scared?
No, hold on. Give me a chance. At the beginning of the offseason, I was scared. I did try and convince myself that there's no way the Lions could win week 1. Now at this point, they're going to win that mug. They're going to win that. And listen, and I'll tell you why. That offensive line, that defensive line. Now, the Kansas City, the biggest thing they have to adjust to is now, already a weak wide receiver core, but the thing that, the most dangerous is Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter who's out there. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes could easily wreck a game just on offense. But I don't know, man. I think the boys are going to be fired up week 1. I know it. The secondary is going to be fired up. They're going to be talking trash, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball, but we'll see. That Chris Jones situation, I don't know with Chris Jones.
And a huge thing people aren't taking for granted will be the first week ever Patrick Mahomes doesn't have Eric Bieniemy, so that'll be interesting. But
Yeah.
JB, your thoughts? I know you're a betting man. You're high on the Lions this year.
Oh, I am very high on the Lions. I think week 1, we will definitely catch the Chiefs off guard just off of week 1. I think they have a lot going for them in that game. They're getting their rings. They're honoring them from winning the Super Bowl as well, too. So they're going to catch Patrick Mahomes off guard just a little bit. And besides that, as you guys just said before, they haven't had any joint practice. So Mahomes has been out there during this whole preseason. So, and Lucas, you brought up a good point as well, too. Eric Bieniemy will not be there to help Patrick Mahomes out. So it's looking all Lions for us right now.
Week 1's always like a toss-up sometimes, too. Like
Unless you're playing against Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin never loses week 1.
Well,
Never
Andy Reid rarely really loses week 1, too, and that's in Arrowhead. So I'm not saying it won't be a challenge, but I think the Lions, they're They're fired up. They know what's expected, and I think week 1, it's going to be some fireworks. I can't wait for it. But speaking of, the Lions potentially winning at Arrowhead, if they do, it's going to have to be because of that defense. And I'm not talking about Guardian Alarm, because Guardian Alarm has customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring, and they got technology backed by people. All you got to do, call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Let them know your friends at Woodward Sports sent you. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Mailbag time. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Again, if you haven't already, hit the like button. I know there's a lot of people that have not liked the video yet. Support the stream. We'd appreciate it so much. To all the people tuning in for choosing us this morning, we appreciate you more than you know. But it's time. It's mailbag time. We do this every day at the last 10 minutes of the show. Let's get the questions. Jesse Adams starts us off. Mailbag. Hey, Jeff Iafrate, can you ask Sam who's going to have a better rookie year, Ronnie Bell or Jaden Reed? Reed is going to be sneaky good, I think. Second question, Jeff JB. What about Sugar's dub? I'll start with you, Sam.
I'm actually going to go with Jaden Reed on this one. I think the Green Bay Packers are building a sneaky good wide receiver trio of Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed. And Jaden Reed is a much better prospect than Ronnie Bell was. He's got the speed. I think he's going to make a couple of big plays. And as good as Ronnie Bell has been in the preseason, which he has showed out, I don't see him being anything more than an average wide receiver in the NFL at best. So give me Jaden Reed, as much as it pains me to say.
Yeah, and me and JB, we kind of talked about Sugar Sean's dub at the beginning of the show there, Jesse. I will say this, UFC is happy. They're elated right now that Sugar Sean is now the champ. He's one of the most marketable fighters in the entire UFC, but on top of that, he's skilled. So I'm excited to see him hopefully keep that title for quite some time, JB.
I think he will, too. I got to give the guy credit on that as well. Like you said, it just takes that one unexpected punch from him, and he nailed it right there. You've seen it in slow motion, too, when he was coming across to punch him, so I got to give credit where credit is due. Shout out to O'Malley.
Let's see here.
Like to hear, JB.
Jonah, why is Flannel so insufferable? Flannel, you respond to Jonah.
Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because you all got me in a mood today. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's see. Dat Boy Roy 2.0 mailbag. What do you think about Carson Kelly being signed to the Tigers? Sam Flannel, you can take this one. Carson Kelly.
Rather probably have him than Eric Haas at this point. Congratulations. Eric Haas has an OPS of under 600.
Eric Haas was cut over the weekend. And then there's Carson Kelly signing now with the Detroit Tigers. Robert says, will the Lions play their starters at least 2 series this week? I don't know about 2 series. Maybe 1, if anything. But we'll see. Like Gabrielle said earlier, we have to see till tomorrow when they kind of give more information about that. But we'll wait and see. Let's see here. What other questions we got for everybody? Elgato mailbag. How bad so the Lions lose at Kansas City?
Lions picking up that dub, baby. We just went over that.
I don't know. That question didn't really make sense. But Elgato, hey, try it again. We'll read it off again. Coach Walk 37 mailbag. Why did Lucas take Ingram over Laporta in fantasy?
Hey, I just addressed it. He's on the bench, okay?
Out.
For the same reasons we just talked about at the beginning of the show. And I have Trevor Lawrence as my quarterback. I got the Trevor Lawrence, Calvin Ridley, and Evan Ingram trio going. So I took Laporta with my last pick in the draft. He's sitting there on the bench. So when he starts to show what he can do, he'll be in the starting lineup. And nobody was taking Laporta besides me.
Ben Bauer says, mailbag, if Goff regresses, do we bank on Hooker or trade up and draft a quarterback? I think both options are on the table. It really just depends on how Hooker looks. At least late in the season when he's more healthy, if he's out there participating in training in practices, then you'll get to evaluate Hendon. But until then, no one really knows if he's going to work out or not. And then the Lions will have a better idea of what he looks like, and then they can make that judgment if they want to go get another quarterback or they roll out with Hooker. But who knows? And that's if Goff regresses. He could easily have another great year. So we shall wait and see. The Ronin 99 mailbag. Who is your surprise? Cut for the Lions. Final cut for the Lions. Surprise? I could see Chase Cota being moved to the practice squad.
Yeah.
I mean, guys that people fall in love with. I think those guys could end up being cut. Iffy?
I could see Melifonwu getting cut. We got a lot of safety help right now, and I mean, he really hasn't. It's not that he's bad, but just a guy where we're good on safeties. I mean, but I don't know, because if you got Chase Lucas there too, I know he's a corner, but he was playing a little bit of safety, so I could see Iffy though.
Jonah Mailbag, are we going to talk about how awkward and cringe the show you did with the heavyweights was? Yeah, that show was off the rails.
That was fun.
It was a lot of fun. I did. Yeah, if you guys haven't already, man. I mean, when you're on the heavyweights, it just gets brought out of you. You just do things that you typically don't do. Yeah, it's Spencer, to be honest with you. But I had a lot of fun, man. I wanted to help my guys out. Easy's out, and for those reasons that they kind of explained. Love you, Easy, but he was out, so I wanted to come support. Lucas showed up. It was a lot of fun. Mike was there as well, and we held it down. Let's get to some more questions. Dante Mailbag, Jeff, shout out to you hosting a Lions postgame show on Bleacher Report. JB, do you think the Edge is done with wrestling as a whole, or do you think he will show up at AEW because the rumors on X? Dante, number one, I appreciate you for showing love. But JB, did you get that question?
Yeah, I understand it. So Edge's last match was this past Friday on SmackDown. He's basically hanging it up in WWE, and there's a lot of rumors that are heating up that he will be at All In London for AEW. So I think he will make an appearance there, but I don't know how many matches he honestly has left in him.
Let's see. Steve G. Mailbag, does Sudfeld struggles rush the timeline for Hooker's return? No, they got Teddy. Yeah, that's why you signed a guy like Teddy
The last thing that they're
Bridgewater.
going to do is rush him.
Yes, and I believe that as well. Burn says, that show was top-tier entertainment. The legend, the elusive, the Don of Woodward himself, Jeff Iafrate. Yes, Spencer's hilarious.
Easy Steed.
yeah. Oh, God, I had a lot of fun on that show, no doubt about it. Coach Walk 37, what the hell is wrong with Easy? Whatever it is, get well soon, Easy. Yeah, it was just a family situation. I'm sure he's good now. He's good now. I don't know if he'll share it on the show, but it's up to him. But yeah, he's better now. Just signed, and then Sean from Detroit just signed Nelson at safety 2. Yep, see how that works out. Secondary looking good. You know what else is looking good? Today's show, because I'm glad you guys are all participating with us here on the Morning Woodward Show. Plenty to talk about still. And we're going to do it all throughout the week. Thank you, Sam Flannel.
Thank you.
Thank you, JB. Thank you, Gabrielle D. Phillips. Thank you, Lucas Kloss. Thank you guys for joining us today on this Monday. Don't forget, before you leave, hit the like button before you go. And don't forget, you can always catch the show live. Or if you can't, you go to any podcast platform you listen to, Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review. 5-star review. Until tomorrow, we'll see you guys.